Till now we have learned Python lists, NumPy array. But what happens when your data looks like this? Rows, columns, thousands of records. This is real world. And this is exactly where Pandas comes in. In this video, I'm going to teach you Pandas from absolute scratch. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Wish Infinite. And before proceeding further, I would like to inform you that you can now support my YouTube channel, and for that you can go to my channel Wish Infinite and then click on to this join button. Here you can select the desired option to become a channel member. You can unlock exclusive perks while helping the channel grow. Your support means a lot. And a big thank you to everyone who has taken channel membership. Members can see their YouTube profile pictures featured randomly on channel homepage here. Also, you can access this complete AI engineering course under playlist tab here. Feel free to save this playlist by clicking onto the save button for quick access in your YouTube playlist section. Now let's continue with the Pandas introduction. Pandas is a Python library built on top of NumPy, designed to work with structured data like tables and spreadsheets. Just like NumPy gave us powerful arrays, Pandas gives us powerful tables called DataFrames. So what is Pandas? So this Pandas word is derived from this panel data. It lets you load, clean, filter and analyze data in rows and columns, just like Excel but with Python code. So now let's see how to install Pandas. For that you can open any terminal. It can be any terminal like CMD, PowerShell or Bash terminal. If you are working onto the Windows machine, you can directly search for CMD, PowerShell or Bash terminal. If you are onto the Mac or Ubuntu machine, you can search for the terminal. Or there is one more way, you can directly use any IDE. For now we are going to use VS Code. So there we would be opening terminal. So let's go to VS Code. And here to install Pandas we need to open terminal. For that we can click onto this terminal and new terminal. And now here we can do the installation. So how to do the installation? That we have already talked, right? We need to give the command which is pip install and then the package name. So here we need to provide pip install pandas. To get in-depth knowledge about installation of the packages, I have already created one video. To access that video, I will provide link of that video under the description below, or you can click onto this I button at top right corner to access that video. Now let's provide this command which is pip install and pandas. Now let's hit enter. So this will install pandas globally. And previously we discussed that we can also use virtual environment to install packages. But just to keep it simple, I am installing this package here globally. But if you want to learn about the virtual environment, you can watch the related video from the playlist. Now our pandas is installed. Now we can start using that. And for using that, what we need to do, we need to import pandas. So we always import pandas as PD. This is universal convention in Python world. Let's see how to do that. For that, let's go to VS Code. And here I will create one more separate folder inside this Python for AI engineering project. If you want, you can directly create this file here. But for now, I will be creating one folder pandas, and inside that I would be keeping all the pandas related files. So let's do that. So here right click, new folder, and here we are giving the name as pandas. You can give any name, it's totally up to you. But here I am giving the name like this. So later when you use the Git repository, so there you would be able to find files easily. Here I've put all the Python related files. And here under this NumPy, I have put all the files related to NumPy video. Now we have created our folder pandas, and now we will create one file where we would be understanding all the concept of pandas. So for that, right click onto this pandas, new file, and here we can give any file name. I will give the file name as pandas tutorial. So pandas underscore tutorial. And then we need to provide the file extension. For that, I will provide dot, and after that we need to give the file extension, which we are going to give as ipynb, which is for IPython notebook, which will be our Jupyter notebook. If you are not aware about the Jupyter notebook, how to do the initial setup by installing the pandas, how to configure Jupyter notebook inside VS Code, so for that you can watch the related video from the playlist. I am not repeating those concepts again. Those are very basic concepts and you should be aware about that. Now let's hit enter, and now our Jupyter notebook file is ready, which is pandas underscore tutorial.ipynb. Now let's use this. So first thing is that we are going to import pandas. So for that, what we would be doing, we will be clicking onto this code, which will add this code cell. And here to import pandas, we need to provide import. Then we need to provide this package name, which is pandas. And then we need to provide the alias. So for that, we need to provide as and then pd. You can provide any alias name here, but as I told, mostly you would be seeing this PD as the alias name, but it's totally up to you. Now let's hit enter. Similarly, we saw that to import the numpy, we provide import numpy as np. That is also you would be seeing globally, but it's totally up to you what alias name you want to give. Package name should be same, pandas, numpy. Now let's use this pandas alias. So for that, you can use the same code cell, or you can add a new code cell and there you can use this PD. As we are using Jupyter Notebook, so that's totally up to you. And for our most of this AI engineering course, we would be using Jupyter Notebook only. Now let me close this terminal as we are not going to use it. And let's add one more code cell. And here to use this pandas alias, let's get version of pandas. For that, what we need to do, we need to provide this PD dot and then double underscore version and then double underscore. Now we can simply click onto this execute cell and we should be able to see the pandas version, which is 3.0.2. I've used this pd.version just to show you that how we can start using this pandas or pandas alias. Now let's go to the next section, which is series, which is 1D data. So a series is like a single column of a table, a list of values with labels called index. Think of it as NumPy array with named rows. Now let's see how to create this series. So to create the series, there are different ways. First, we are going to create the series from a list. So let's see that. Let's go to VS Code directly. And here I will add the markdown just to give the heading so that later it would be easy for you to find out code. Let's click onto this markdown. And here let's provide heading as series 1D data. Let me copy it from here. Let's go to VS Code. And here to provide heading, I will provide this double hash. It is related to markdown. You need not to be worried about it while learning NumPy, that how to provide heading. That I have already told you. So just to keep it simple, you need to provide this markdown. And here to provide the heading, I'm adding some hash so that we are able to see proper heading. Now here let's provide that heading, which is series 1D data. Now let's click onto this stop editing, or you can simply press Ctrl plus Alt plus Enter. Similarly, we can also add a heading here at the top for installation and importation of pandas. Let's do that quickly. Click onto this markdown. And here let's provide the heading as installation and import. You can provide any heading here. You can provide introduction, installation and import. Let me do that quickly. I'm giving these headings so that you would be easily able to identify that inside which section what I have explained. Now let's continue with the series part. Let's add one more code cell. And here we are going to create a series using a Python list. So you can create a series from a list. Each value automatically gets an index starting from 0. So to create the series, what we need to do, we need to provide this PD, which is alias of this pandas that we have executed here. First time only you need to execute it. Each time you will not have to execute these cells. First time when you are starting your IDE or opening this file, at that time we need to click onto this execute cell. And now after this PD dot, we need to provide this series. Here if you will mouse over onto the series, you would be able to see more details related to this series. It is a class and here we are using constructor. So constructor is similar to method whose name is same as class name. Now here we need to provide opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here inside it we can provide a list which will get converted into series. So to provide the list, what we need to do, we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets. And here we can provide some numbers or score of the students. So let's provide 85, 92, 78, space 95, space I am giving just so that it is looking properly, and then 88. And like this you can add multiple numbers here or multiple scores for any student. Now here we have created a series. Let's save it inside one variable. So for that we can provide any variable name. Here I will give variable name as scores and then equals to. Now our series is ready. Let's see its values. So for that you can use the print statement and then can provide this scores, or you can simply use this scores as we are using Jupyter Notebook, so it will not give any issue. So let's provide scores here. And now let's click onto this execute cell. And see we are able to see all the scores which we have given. So see each given value is appearing one by one here. 85, 92, 78, 95, 88. And here at the left hand side, we are able to see the index number. So that's what I was talking about. Each value automatically gets an index starting from 0. See, for this first value, we have got the index as 0. For the second value, we have got 92 and so on. Here at the bottom, we are able to see data type of this particular series, which is int64. Like this, you can provide n numbers here inside this particular list to create this series using this list. And here for now, we have created a plain series. We can also create a series with custom index. We give your rows meaningful names instead of numbers. So what is this custom index? So here we will give rows meaningful names instead of numbers. Let's see how to do that. So let's go to VS Code. And here, as I told, it's totally up to you. You want to use the same code cell or the new code cell. For now, I'm creating a new code cell so that we would be able to see proper output here. Now let's click onto this code. And here we are going to create a series, but we are also going to provide index here. For that, we need to provide this pd.series. We need to give this as capital. Make sure we follow the naming convention properly. Now here we need to provide opening and closing of round parentheses. And here let's provide one list with the same numbers. We need to provide opening and closing of square brackets, and there we will provide the same numbers. I will just copy paste it: 85, 92, 78, 95 and 88. Now we are going to provide index here. So here we are going to provide second argument for this series. So after this list, put comma, space, and here let's provide indexes. So for that, we need to provide this index, which is our parameter name, equals to, and here let's provide some index. This time we will provide index as student name, and it is totally up to you, right? As I'm using example of this score marks, so that's why I'm providing index as student name. If you are using any other data, so accordingly you can provide index number. Here to provide index argument value, we need to provide a list. So again, let's provide this opening and closing of square brackets, and here you can provide an index name. So let's provide a student name as Ram. Within the single quotes or double quotes, we need to provide it. This is basic Python concept. Then comma, single quotes or double quotes, Shyam. Again comma, wish infinite. Again comma, Pooja, comma, Sam. So whatever number of items which are there inside this particular list, same index number we need to provide here, right? So the counts should be similar. Here we are having 5 items, so that's why we are providing 5 index here. Now let's save this particular series inside one variable. So for that, I will give the variable name as scores only. If you want to give any other name, that you can give. Now let's print value of this scores. So let's provide this scores directly so that we would be able to see the output. If you are not using Python notebook and using .py file, so in that case you will have to provide the print statement here. Hit print, and inside it you will have to pass scores. Now let's click onto this execute cell. And see, we have got our series which is 85, 92, 78, 95, 88, which is this one. But here on place of index number, see, previously we were able to see the index number, but this time we are able to see this custom index. And here we can also access these values based on these indexes. You can either use these indexes if you are not providing any custom index, or if you are providing custom index, so in that case you would be able to use these indexes. Let's see that how to do that. So for that, we need to provide this series name, which is scores, and then we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets, and here we need to provide the index number. So in this case, our index numbers are string. So for that, either we will have to provide single quotes or double quotes. Here I am using single quotes, and here let's try to access value for the specific index. Let's provide Ram here. Click onto this execute cell, and see it is showing 85. This np.int64 is its data type, integer 64, which is coming from numpy. Similarly, let's try to access a score for this wish infinite. So for that, let's provide scores here, then opening and closing of square brackets, and here we need to provide single quotes or double quotes, and then the index, which is wish infinite. Now let's click onto this execute cell, and this time we are able to see 78 here. If you want, you can also use print statement. How to use that? So for that, you will have to provide this print, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and in between we need to provide this statement, which is score, and then the index within square brackets. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we are just seeing the value. But when we were not using this print statement, in that case we were able to see data type also. So it's totally up to you how you want to show your values. Now there is one more way to create a series, which is by using dictionary. Let's see how to do that. Before that, let me just add these commands to the specific code. So create a series from a list, which we have done here. And here I will just give a simple command by using hash. So hash, and then after that we can provide any command. If you want to give a proper heading, in that case you can use this markdown. And here we have created the series by using custom index. So let's provide that also. Here at the top I will give this command. So to provide the command we need to provide hash and then this particular command. And similarly, let's copy this series from a dictionary. How to create a series from dictionary we will see now. So for that, let me add one more code cell. Here let's first provide this command. So for that, hash and then this command. Now hit enter, and here now we can create a series from a dictionary. So if you already have a dictionary, Pandas can turn it directly into series. Let's see how to do that. For that, I would be creating a simple dictionary quickly. So to create a dictionary, we need to provide opening and closing of curly braces. For that, first let's give the variable name as data, then equals to, and here we are just going to create a dictionary first. For that, we need to provide opening and closing of curly braces, and here we need to provide key value pairs. So our key value we would be able to use to fetch the specific data, and then after key colon we are going to provide that value, so we would be able to fetch that particular value. Now here let's provide the key name as vision_print. After that we need to provide colon space, and here let's provide some marks. Let's provide 99 here. Then we need to provide comma after first key value pair. Here let's provide second key name. So here I will give key name as Alon. Then colon space, and here I will give 100. Again comma, and then we can provide next key value pair. Here let's provide key name as Sita, colon, and here let's give number as 98. Now our dictionary is ready. Now let's use this dictionary to create a series. So for that we need to provide this pd, which is our alias for pandas, dot, and here we need to provide the constructor, which is series, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we need to pass our dictionary. If you want, you can also directly create a dictionary here. For now we have already created a dictionary, and now we are going to use it. So we are using this data as the variable name. Now let's save this particular series inside one variable. Let's give the variable name as scores only. If you want, you can also give scores 1, scores 2, scores 3. But for now, we are using the same names, so we would be able to overwrite it with the new values. Let's provide this scores here as the name, and then space equals to. Now let's print value of this scores directly. So let's provide scores, because in case of Jupyter Notebook, we would be able to see output for the last statement. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see it is showing whole series, which is 9998, with the index number, which is vision_print, Alon and Sita. So here, if you are able to get it, see our values which were there after this colon are appearing inside the series, and these keys are getting used as the index. See vision_print, Alon and Sita. And here it is just showing data type as int64. And here, as I told you, if you want to access the specific value, so for that you can use the index. If it is a number, you can provide number. If it is a string, you can provide that index. Let's see that quickly. So here let's provide scores, then opening and closing of square brackets. Here let's provide Sita. Now we should be able to see the value, which is 98. So for that, let's click onto this execute cell and see its value is 98, and it is also showing this NumPy data type. If you want, you can use print statement, and then it will not show this data type. Now like this, you can provide directly the list with the index number. Here you can put n number of items, or the dictionary with n number of key value pairs. You can provide more data to do practice here. Now let's go to the next section, which is DataFrame, which is a 2D table. A DataFrame is a heart of Pandas. It is a table with rows and columns, exactly like spreadsheet. Each column is a series, and together they form a DataFrame. So now let's create a DataFrame using dictionary. So here, when we are using dictionary, so the keys become column names and values become column data. Let's see how to do that. But before that, I will add this heading, which is our main section. And inside this, we are going to learn about creation of data frame from dictionary, and we would be exploring data frame more. Now let's go to VS Code here. Let's click onto this markdown to add a new heading. Here let's provide // and then this heading, which is data frame, which is a 2D table. Now let's add this code cell. So click onto this code, and here first let's create a dictionary. So for that, I will give variable name as data. Now equals to, and then opening and closing of curly braces. And now here we are going to provide key and value pairs, whereas I told each key value would be a column name. So here let's create a dictionary. So for that, I will give a key name as name. So to provide the key name, you can use single quotes or double quotes like this. Just make it consistent so that your code will look proper. And here let's provide key name as name. Now let's provide its values. For that, we need to provide colon space, and here its value will be a list where we would be providing different names. Let's provide some names. For that, as I told you, can use single quotes or double quotes. Here I am using double quotes, and here let's provide Ram, comma, again single quotes or double quotes, then Wish Infinite, comma, Shiva, comma, Shyam. Now this is our first key value pair. Similarly, we can provide multiple key value pairs where we will be providing key value like this, and its value we are going to provide as the list, where inside the list it would be having multiple values. Now let's add one more key value pair. For that, provide comma here inside the dictionary, and here let's provide age, then colon, and here opening and closing of square brackets, and here let's provide age like 25, 30, 40, 55. Here we will also provide scores. So let's provide comma, opening and closing of square brackets, and scores. And then we need to provide colon, and here again the list, and then the score. So let's provide scores as 85, 92, 78, 95. Now our dictionary is ready, where we are having keys which will get used as the column name, and then its values, where we are providing values as the list, which will be giving us data for each row. Now let's see how to use this dictionary and create a data frame. For that, after these curly braces, we need to hit enter, and here we are going to use this pandas. Its alias is pd, so we are using this pd dot, and then we need to provide this data frame. So capital D A T A and then capital F R A M E. So again, this data frame is a class, and here if we are using opening and closing of round parentheses, so we can provide different arguments here. So for now, we are going to provide argument as this particular data. So let's provide this data here, and by using this, we have got our data frame. So for that, let's provide this variable name as df, which is short for data frame. If you want, you can give whole name data frame or score data frame. It's totally up to you. Now let's print value of this df directly. So df, and now let's click onto this execute cell. So see, we have got column name as the key name, which are name, age, and scores, and then we have got different rows where we are able to see this Ram. His age is 25 and his score is 85. See, first value from each list. Similarly, we have got this Wish Infinite, then 30 as the age, and score as 92. And like this, we are able to access each and every value of this particular data frame. And like this, you can do practice by creating more key value pairs inside the dictionary, and then you can create a data frame by using that particular dictionary. Now after this, we are going to explore our data frames more. So here we are going to import functions to understand data at a glance. Now here I will use the same code cell only. If you want, you can also create a new code cell. Here I will give heading as explore the data frame. Here I am copying these headings or comments just to save the time. Here I will copy this thing also. And here I am putting these comments or headings so that it would be easy for you to understand the code, right? With these commands, with these headings, when you are using it from the Git repository later. Now let's explore the data frame. So when we are saying explore the data frame, so here we are going to fetch details related to data frame or some data from the data frame. Let's do that. So here let's first get shape of our data frame. So for that we need to provide df, which is our data frame, any name which we have given previously that you can provide. So df, do not get confused, here we are not providing pd. Previously we have used pd, but here we are trying to fetch properties of the data frame. So we need to provide df, which is our data frame, dot, and here let's try to access the shape. So let's provide shape here. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got 4, 3. What is that? So it means that we have got 4 columns and 3 rows. See, 1, 2, 3, 4 are columns and 3 rows are there. Let me put this into second cell so that we would be able to see data frame also. Let's cut it. For now let me execute it so that we are able to see our data frame or our table. Now let's add one more code cell. Let's provide this df.shape here. Let's again execute it and see we have got these 4 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4 here, Ram, Vishinfnet, Shiva and Shyam, and then we have 3 columns. So these 3 keys we have provided, right? Name, age, score, and that's why we are having this 3 here. Now we are able to see the shape, right? 4 rows and 3 columns. Now let's try to access data type of this data frame. So for that again we need to use this data frame, which is df dot and then d types. Now let's again click onto this execute cell. We would be able to see output for the last statement, and here it is showing see key names and its data type. So for the name, data type is string. For the age, data type is int 64, and for the scores it is int 64 only. And like this, if you would be having multiple rows and columns, in that case you would be able to fetch the data type for each and every column. Now here let's see the next thing. For that we need to provide this df, which is our data frame, and then we need to provide head, then opening and closing of round parentheses. So this head is a method, and here now let's click onto this execute cell and see this head is showing us data frame. So in that case it would be just showing you data for the first 5 rows. For now we have just only 4 rows, so it is just showing 4 rows here. Now here we can also pass some numbers. Let's say if I pass 2, so it would be just fetching first 2 rows. Let's click on to execute cell and see only first 2 rows are appearing. Similarly, you can provide numbers here just to see that number of rows from the top. So here let's try to provide 6 here. So 6th row is not there. Let's click on to this execute cell. So see we are not getting any error, but it is fetching maximum data here. If there would be 6 rows, we would be able to see 6 rows there. Let's provide 2 here for now. Let's click on to execute cell and we are getting the output. Now there is one more method which can be used onto the data frame, which is tail. Let's provide that. So df dot tail and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here if you will directly execute it, it is going to give you last 5 records from the data frame. Let's click on to this execute cell and see here only 4 rows are there, so we are able to see all 4 rows from the bottom of the data frame. Now here let's provide argument as 3 for the tail. So this time what will happen? We would be getting bottom 3 records, which are these highlighted records. Let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got Shyam, Shiva, Vishinfnet and not Ram, because we were trying to fetch bottom 3 records. Now let's go to the next section, which is reading files. So in real projects, data comes from files, not code. Pandas can read CSV files, Excel files, JSON files, and even SQL database with single line of code. So now let's see how to read a CSV file. So for that, first let me put a CSV file here inside this Pandas folder. So I have already downloaded the CSV file, which is this students.csv. Let me drag and drop this CSV file inside the VS Code inside the Pandas folder. If you want, you can also copy paste it. And see, here we are able to get this students.csv data. So here it is having multiple columns inside this first row, and then it is having different data into different rows. CSV means comma separated values. So see, each and every value is separated by comma. Here if we will open CSV file with the Excel, we would be able to see proper rows and columns. Let me open that quickly. So here let's go here. So here open it with the Excel. And see, it is showing proper rows and columns. See, all the data is appearing into different rows. And here this first row is having column names like student ID, name, age. And like this, there can be multiple rows and columns. But here inside the VS Code, we are only able to see it as the text file. If you want to see it properly, then you can use some extension. For that, you can go to this extension section and here search for the CSV extension. So CSV. And then you can install the extension. For now, we are going to use this particular extension, which is provided by this repreng. You can click here. You would be able to see that it is provided by this repreng. Now we can click onto this install. So now this extension is installed. Let's open our CSV file. Let me close it. And here we have moved our file inside this pandas folder. Let me open it again. And see, here also we are able to see proper rows and columns. So it is not necessary, but just to see the data properly inside the VS Code also, we are just installing this extension. If you are comfortable with that text file, so you need not to install this extension. It is optional, right? If you want to see the proper data into proper structure for the CSV file, then you can use this particular extension. Now we have the CSV file and now we want to read this particular data. And for that we are going to use pandas, but how to do that? So for that, let's go to our notebook file and here I will create one more new code cell. So for that we click down to this code and here to read the CSV file, there is one simple line we need to provide. For that we need to provide this pd dot and here we are going to use one method which is read underscore CSV. So read underscore CSV and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here we just need to provide the path with the file name .csv. So where we are keeping our file, so it is inside the same folder which is pandas. So in that case what we need to do, we can simply provide the file name because our notebook file as well as our CSV file inside the same folder. So here we need not to provide the full path, we will have to just provide the file name .csv. So you can either use single quotes or double quotes here. And here let's provide this students.csv. So here we are reading this particular CSV and this CSV is having rows and columns which is a table. So whatever we are reading, we are going to get it in the form of data frame. So here we can save this particular data frame which we are reading from the CSV inside one variable. So here let's give the variable name as df1 equals to, you can give any name, I am just giving this short name so that it would be easy to use it. You can give student df or students underscore df, so it's totally up to you. Now let's print value of this df. Hit enter and provide df here. If you want, you can use the print statement as I told previously. And here let's click onto this execute cell. And see, we are able to see the whole data. It is having columns, it is having rows, and there are multiple rows for different data. And from where all this data is coming? It is coming from this students.csv. See, it is having student ID, name, age, gender, same thing we are able to see here. And exactly the same data, right? 101, 102 are the student ID. So the same thing we are having here. Similarly, we have got name, age, gender, all these data from the CSV file just by using this simple function which is read underscore CSV. This is a method or function, how you will get to know. So for that, you can just simply mouse over onto it. You would be able to get that this particular read underscore CSV is a function, not method. And one more thing, let's say if this student.csv is inside a specific folder. Let me create one folder so that we have our all the data into separate folder. So for that, we need to click onto this new folder. Let's give the folder name as data. You can give any name here. And now let's move this student.csv inside this particular folder. Click onto this move. Now let me close it and let's check it. It got moved properly. See, again data is appearing. Now here while reading the CSV, we will also have to provide the path, because if we will just provide this file name.csv, it would not be able to read it, because previously all the things were there inside the same folder. So it was working. Let me click onto this execute cell and see we are getting this error that file not found. So now what to do? So in that case, you'll have to just simply provide the path. Let me do that. For now, I will comment it out. Hit enter. Again, let's provide this pd dot read underscore CSV. And then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here we need to provide the path with the file name dot extension. So for that, you can use single quotes or double quotes. Here I will show you. We can also use single quotes. And here let's provide path first. So for that, we need to provide dot /. So now here we are going to the parent folder of this particular notebook file. So the parent folder is this pandas. Now we need to go to the inner folder. So here we need to provide this data. So by providing this dot /, we went to this parent folder which was pandas. right? Immediate parent. And then we went inside this data. So we provided data, again /, and then we need to provide the file name .csv, which is students.csv. See, automatically it is showing suggestions also. You can directly click here, or if you want, you can type it. So students.csv. And make sure that you are providing correct folder name and the file name with the correct extension. Now here, let's save it inside one variable. So we will save it inside one variable, which is df only, equals to, and here we are printing value of this df. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we are able to get the proper data. This time we provided the path because our Python file and the data file was not there inside the same folder. Previously it was there inside the same folder, so we just need to provide the path name .csv. But if files are there in two separate folder, in that case we will have to provide the path properly. You can play with it, you can try to shift it inside the different folders and then try to give the path and then try to read the data. For now we are just providing df, so it is showing all the data from this CSV file, which is having 20 rows and 9 columns. We can also provide this df dot head, as I told you, that it will fetch the initial 5 rows and then opening and closing of round parentheses. Let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got initial 5 rows. The index is 0 to 4, which means 5 rows. Similarly, we can use this df dot tail, then opening and closing of round parentheses, and here if I will execute, we will get bottom 5 rows. See, these bottom 5 rows are appearing there. These bottom, right? This index you would be able to see automatically. It is not there inside the CSV, but here for each row you would be able to see the index. And similarly, you can also provide numbers here. Let's say you want to get bottom 6 or 7 rows. So in that case, you can simply provide 7 for this tail, click onto the execute and see we are able to get 7 records. The same thing you can do with the head. If you want to see, let's say top 10 records, so in that case you can provide 10 with this head. And here we are reading the CSV, but as the output we are getting DataFrame. If you will mouse over and if you will scroll down here, so you would be able to see its written type is DataFrame. So that's why we would be able to get all the properties or use any of the methods onto this particular DataFrame, which is our CSV data. So remember that. So whenever you are importing anything, you would be getting it as the DataFrame, and then you can perform any Pandas DataFrame operation on it. So whatever we are going to learn it inside this particular tutorial, it would be applicable onto this DataFrame which we are getting through this particular method, which is read CSV. And similarly, we can also read Excel file. Let's see that. For that, I will create one new code cell. Here I will provide these headings also. Read CSV file. I will provide this heading here at the top. Provide hash or control /. It will directly put a comment in front of the line. Similarly, let's provide this heading, which is read an Excel file. Go here, provide this text, press control /. Now to read the Excel file, what we need to do? First we need to get an Excel file, right? For now we are not having an Excel file. So that also I have downloaded here. This is our Excel file. You can open it and see it is having multiple rows and columns. And apart from that, it is having multiple tabs. So see, inside this, we are having sales data. Here we are having course info. So like this, there can be multiple Excel sheets here. And this is our Excel file, right? You can call it tabs or sheets. Usually you would be getting that these are sheets inside our Excel. For now, let me close it. Let's move this particular file into our project folder. So here let's drag and drop this particular file into our VS Code inside the specific project folder. So here inside this Pandas, I will move this Excel file inside this data folder directly. If you want to keep it inside the same folder, that also you can do. For now, here into the VS Code, you would not be able to see the Excel file. If you want to see the Excel file properly here inside the VS Code, so for that also you can download one extension. For that, click onto this extension section and here search for Excel. And to see the Excel file properly inside the VS Code, we can use this particular extension, which is Excel Viewer. Click here, click onto the install. You can check this name, that who is the publisher for this particular extension. Now let me close it. As our extension got installed, the extension name is Excel Viewer. Now let me close this Excel file and again let's open it. So double click here and see, this time we are able to see our Excel file inside the VS Code directly. If you don't want to use this extension, you can open the Excel file directly using Excel. But it is more comfortable to directly see the files inside the VS Code. Now let's go to our notebook file and let's try to read this particular Excel file. So here to read the Excel file, we are going to use one function which is read_Excel. Let's do that. So first we need to provide this pd, which is alias of pandas, which we have created, right? Initially we have used this import pandas as pd, and then we executed it. You remember, whenever you are restarting the VS Code or reopening this particular file, you need to execute this particular section, import pandas as pd, then only you would be able to use pd at different places. Now let's continue. So here we provided this pd dot, and here we need to use this read underscore excel, so excel, then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we need to provide the path with the file name dot extension, and apart from that we will also have to provide the second argument value. So let's first provide the path with the file name dot extension, which is dot xlsx, right? The file name is pandas underscore tutorial dot xlsx. It can be any name, right? You'll have to provide the same name as the string here. So here let's use double quotes, and then let me copy this name rather than typing it, clicking onto this rename and then copy this whole name. So before providing this name, we need to provide the path, because this file is there inside the data folder, and our Python file or notebook file is there inside the pandas folder. So for that, again, let's provide this dot forward slash. If you will press Ctrl plus space, you would be able to see that what are all the options. Here we are having this data folder inside the pandas. So we went on to this parent folder by using this dot forward slash, and then we are providing this data forward slash, and after that we need to provide the file name dot extension. So let's provide this pandas underscore tutorial dot xlsx, which is Excel file extension, and that's it. And now we need to provide second argument. So to provide the second argument, we need to provide this comma space, and now we need to provide the sheet name, because inside the Excel, if you will see, there are multiple sheets, sales, course info, and like this there can be multiple sheets. So that's why you'll have to provide the sheet name, that from which sheet you want to fetch data. So here let's fetch data from this sales sheet. So here you'll have to provide that parameter name, which is sheet underscore name, and then equals to, and here we need to provide the sheet name, which is this sales, right? You can provide any name. So to provide it, we need to use single quotes or double quotes and then sales. That's it. Now we would be able to read our Excel file, and as the output, what we would be getting? We would be getting DataFrames. So see here, if you will mouse over and come to this bottom, you would be able to see the return type is DataFrame. Now let's save it inside one variable. Let's save it inside this df1 equals to, you can provide any name. Now let's try to see value of this data frame, which is df1. Let's click on to this execute cell and see we are able to get the output. We are able to see the columns, rows, and multiple data for these rows and columns. And this data we are getting from the sales sheet from this Excel file. So here inside the sales we are having these 11 rows, and these are the columns. So same data we are seeing here. And here also you can use this head, tail, or any other properties, like we can also get the shape. Let's use that this time. So df1 dot shape. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see the shape is 10,8, which means we are having 10 rows and 8 columns. Why 10 rows? Here we were having 11 rows, but this is considered as header, right? So after that, for the data we are having 10 rows only, and similarly we have 8 columns here. So that's what we are getting here. Similarly, we can also use info method to fetch information related to this particular data frame. So for that we can provide this df1.info. So this is our data frame. It is not like that we are fetching values from the Excel. So in that case only we would be able to use these properties or methods. It doesn't matter, right? We are reading data from the Excel file, CSV file, or any other file. We are getting output as the data frame, and then we can use any of the properties or method which we can use onto the data frame. For now, let's use this info, opening and closing of round parenthesis, and now let's click onto this execute cell. And see, it is providing the information related to this particular data frame which we are getting from this Excel. So see here it is showing the index numbers, column names. So see, so we have this sale ID, salesperson, region. So all those columns are there inside this particular Excel file, inside this sales sheet. Similarly, it is showing not null count. So for the sales ID, 10 is the not null. So all 10 rows are not having any null data. But see here for the months, we are getting this not null count as 0, because each and every cell of each row is having null value. So that's why it is showing that. Similarly, we are getting data type for each and every column. So for sale ID, data type is int64. For salesperson column, data type is string, right? See here, all the strings are there. Like this, we would be able to see information related to our data frame quickly. You'll not have to go manually here and see that which one is integer, which one is a string, where we have null value. All those things you would be able to see just by giving this dataframe.info method. And the same thing you can use here also when we were reading data from the CSV, because we are getting output as the data frame and we are using these properties or methods onto the data frame. And like this, you can read other files also. For that, what you'll have to do, you'll have to use this pandas. You'll have to just use this pandas or alias dot, and then if you will type this read underscore, you would be able to see all the different type of files. Using that, you can read data. It can be CSV, Excel, further file, HTML file, JSON file, and like this, there can be different things or files. Using that, you can read data. We can also read data from the SQL table, SQL query. So there are multiple options. For now, we are just reading data from the CSV or Excel file, but you can try it with the different functions. Create one JSON file, try to read data from there. So this I am leaving with you as the assignment. You can try to read it by using different functions. And in case of any issue, just let me know into the comment section below. The same pattern you need to follow. If you want to get more details, you can just simply Google it or search onto ChatGPT, Claude, or any other AI assistant. You can also mouse over onto the method name. You would be able to see that what are different arguments you can pass with the specific function. See here we have passed this sheet name, so it is appearing there. And like this, you can see more details related to the function directly by mouse hovering on it or searching it onto the Google or onto any other AI assistant. For now, let me remove this particular part. And now one more thing we wanted to see inside this particular reading file section, which is save to CSV. So here we will not be reading the file, but we would be saving data inside the CSV file. So here, after processing our data, we are going to save our result. Let's see that quickly. Let's go to VS Code. And here let me create one more code cell. Let's provide comment as save to CSV. You need not to provide these comments, right? But just for your understanding, if you are using this particular code from the Git repository, you would be having better idea, right? Which code is for which section. Now let's create one data frame first, and then we would be saving that data frame inside the CSV file. So to create the data frame, we can simply use this old dictionary we have used here. See this one, where we provided key and value pair to create the data frame using this particular dictionary. Let's copy the same code to again create a new data frame. And now let's paste it inside this code cell. You can also manually type it. You can create a new dictionary and then create a new data frame. That's totally up to you. Just to save the time, I'm using this old data only. Here we are using this variable name data equals to, and this is our dictionary where we are having these keys, and then their value is a list where we are providing different data. Here we are providing name, here we are providing age, and here we are providing scores for these students. And then after that, what we are doing, we are using this pd, which is our alias for the pandas dot data frame, and inside this data frame we are passing dictionary, which is this one. It can have key value pair of any type. For now, although you would not be creating data like this mostly, but you should be aware about it if you are seeing this kind of code. Mostly either you would be reading the CSV file or Excel file or any other data file, and then you would be processing data, you would be performing different operation. But after performing that also, you can save that particular data inside CSV file like this. So for now, we have our data frame. Let me print its value, df, click onto this execute cell. You will say again we are using same name because it will get overridden. Here at this particular point, inside the data frame, this data is there. Previously, we have used the same name df here, but at that time it was having this data, right? So that doesn't matter, but if you want to give new name every time, that you can do. So now we are able to see our data. See, it is having 3 columns and 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our header, right? So now let's save this particular data inside one CSV. So to do that, what we need to do, we need to provide df dot, and then you'll have to use this method, which is to underscore CSV, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And still, if you are getting confused that which one is method, which one is function, so it is little difficult, right? We cannot say that which one is function or which one is method. So for that, you can just simply mouse over onto the specific method or function. You would be able to get information. See here, this is method. Previously, when we were using this read Excel or read CSV, so those were functions. But it doesn't matter. You need to use it in the same pattern. You need to provide the data frame dot and then the function name or method name, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we would be passing arguments. So for this to underscore CSV, what we need to pass? So first thing is that we need to pass the file name, that inside which file we want to save it. So for that we need to use this single quotes or double quotes, and here let's provide this file name as output.csv. That's it. Like this we can provide more arguments for this particular to underscore CSV method. For now that is okay. Now let's click on to this execute cell. See, we are not getting any output because this last statement is not returning or having any value. It is just simply saving this data frame inside this output.csv. And if you have noticed, inside our pandas folder directly, right, we have got this output.csv. You can simply open it and see the same data which we were having inside this data frame, which we have put using this dictionary, is appearing here into this output.csv. So like this you can save your data into these files. Similarly, we can do one more thing. Let me comment it out. Let me delete this output.csv. So right click, delete, and move to recycle bin. Now we will save our CSV file inside this data folder. So df.to_csv, and here we need to provide the path with the file name .csv. So inside this data folder, if we want to save it, so here as the string we will put this dot / right. So we went on to this parent, then we need to provide this data / and after that we can provide file name, which is output. You can provide any file name here because you are creating this file. You can provide output data or output one, any file name, right? It should be meaningful. So output.csv. Now let's click on to this execute cell. And see, this time it created the file inside this data folder. See, and here if you will click onto the CSV, you would be able to see the same data. It is having 3 columns and 4 rows. Here we are getting 1 column for the index number also. If you don't want these index numbers, so in that case you can pass one more argument. Let's do that. So for that, let me put this df.to_csv, and here we need to provide this same path with the file name. So here I will provide single quotes or double quotes dot /data / and here I will give file name as output1.csv, and then we need to provide the second argument. So for that, provide comma here, and then the parameter name is index here. So we will give this index, then equals to, and here we need to provide false because we don't want index number here. So let's provide it as the false. This f is capital, so you need to make sure, otherwise you would be getting error. And here we are providing this parameter name. So that is simple Python concept. While teaching Python, I told you, right, how to create function, how to pass the argument, how to provide different parameters which a function can accept. So all those things I've already explained. If you have not watched my functions related video, I would recommend you to watch that video. For that, you can go to this playlist and find the specific video. I will also provide link of that video into the description, or you can click onto this I button at top right corner to access that video. For now, let's click onto this execute cell. If you don't want to again generate this output file, you just comment it out. For now, we are focusing on to this one. So it should generate a output1.csv where it should not show the index number. Let's click onto this execute cell. Here it will not show any output because it is not returning anything. Now we have got this file which is output1.csv. Click here and see, we have got rows and columns, but this time we are not able to see any index number. So inside this file we are not seeing, but inside this output.csv we are seeing that because we have not provided this index equals to false in this case. So it's totally up to you how you want to save your data. And like this, here you can check df underscore dot and then to underscore, and here you can see that what are different formats in which you can save your data. Like this, you can save your data inside the Excel file, JSON file, XML file. So you can try these options at your end. For now, you have got the way, right, how to save it. Try to use these different methods for your work. If you want to use the specific file, let's say if you want to save the data inside the JSON file, so in that case you would be able to use this to_JSON, and here you'll have to just pass the path. Let me quickly pass that. Here I will give this file name as output2. So here we provided the path, but we want to generate a JSON file. So we will have to change the extension also. So here let's provide JSON. So what we did, we used this data frame, which we have got from here, right? Then this method name, which is to_JSON, and here we are just providing that where we want to generate this file with which name. Here I have given output 2, and then the file extension, which is JSON file. But because we want to save the data into JSON file, that's why we have used this method. So that's why we have changed the extension also here. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see it generated a JSON file. You can simply open it and you would be able to see different key value pairs. See here inside the JSON file, we are able to get the similar dictionary. It is having opening and closing of curly braces where it is having different keys and its values as the list. So the similar pattern of data you would be seeing here, although it would be into the JSON format. So see, we have got this output2.json, and into this generated output2.json file, we would be having all of our data into the JSON format like this. Here we are having this name, age and scores as the key, and then its data. So it's totally up to you which method you want to use, in which format you want to save the data, but you should be having an idea that you can read data from different files and you can also save your data into different file formats. I've just shown you some examples. You can try different methods. In case of any issue, just let me know into the comment section below. Feel free to reach out to me. Now let's go to the next section, which is selecting data. Selecting data means picking the specific rows or columns you want to work with. Pandas has two main tools, LOC, which is label based, and iloc, which is position based. So inside this section, we are going to see selecting a single column, selecting multiple columns, LOC, iloc, and iterate rows with iter rows and iter tuples. For this, we are going to use for loop of Python. Now let's see these things one by one. Before that, let me copy this heading and let's go to VS Code. Here, let's provide this markdown here to provide this section heading. So for this, I will provide // space and then this heading. And for the reading file section, I will also provide this markdown so that you would be easily able to identify which we will have to provide here. Let me copy the heading, which is reading files, CSV and Excel. Let's go to VS Code and here let's add one markdown with this // then space. After that, you can also hit this Control Alt Enter, or you can click onto that right button here just to show that particular markdown. Now here let's continue with our section, which is selecting data, where we are going to first see selecting a single column. So for this, we would be using column name in the square brackets, which will give us series. Let's see how to do that. So for that, let me add one code cell. Here first, let me give this command, which is select a single column. Here to provide command, provide hash, and then this particular command. And now to get a single column, first we need to have data, right? We should have data frame, and from that we would be getting one single column. So to get the data, there are multiple ways you can create data frame. That's up to you. But for now, I'm directly going to use this particular Excel file, which is students.csv. This one. So that we are already having this prepared data, we will have to just get it as the data frame from this Excel file, and then we can perform these operations. So for that, what we need to do, we just saw that we need to read the CSV file. And how to read that? So for that, we need to use this pd.read_csv and then CSV file, path, name, and then extension. So for that, I will be using this particular line. You can directly execute this particular code cell and can use it into any other cell below it. But just to keep it simple, I will just read data from the CSV every time. So here either copy paste this particular line, or you can directly provide this line, which is df equals to pd, which is our alias for pandas, then dot, and here read_csv. And here we need to provide the path of CSV with the name .csv. So for that, provide the single quotes or double quotes, and here let's provide this path, which is // then data / and then file name .csv. So here we are going to use this students.csv. Now we have our data frame. Inside that, we are having this particular data. If you want to see, you can just provide this df. You would be able to see the data frame getting printed here, or as the output we are seeing that, right? Now we want to select a single column. For that, you can use this particular code cell, or you can create a new code cell. And here I am creating a new code cell so that we have this particular output here. Every time we would be able to validate it that we are getting proper data as the output or not. Now let's use the df which we have created here. So df, then let's say we want to fetch this particular name column. So what we will have to do, we will have to provide this opening and closing of square brackets, and here we need to provide the column name. So to provide the column name, you can either use single quotes or double quotes. Here I am using double quotes, and then the column name, in this case it is name, which is this one. And now what we should get, we should be able to get one whole column, and very initially we saw that one single column is series. Now you can save this particular value inside one variable and then can use that particular variable, or directly also if you will execute this particular cell, you would be able to see the output. Let me click onto this execute cell and see we have got the output where we are only able to see this column which is name, and with this we are having the index also. Here it is showing column name is name and its data type is string. Separately also you can check its data type. For that you will have to use this type, and inside this you can provide this df with the square brackets and then the column name, or you can save it inside one variable. Let's say col1 or column1 you can give and then equals to. So this is our variable, and now we can provide this variable name inside this type. So inside this type we are having this particular code. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got pandas.series. So as I told you that if we are getting only one single column, so it would be a series, not data frame. So that's what it is showing here. We are able to see output for the last line of code. Here if I will provide col1, so again I would be able to see this one single column which is name. See like this. And like this you can select any column. Let's say you want to select this course column. So in that case what you'll have to do, you'll have to just provide df then square brackets. You can provide this column name which is course. You can copy paste it or you can type it manually. You just need to make sure that you are providing correct column name. Now again let's click onto this execute cell and we would be able to see output for this last line, and see we are able to see all the cores one by one. In the same order we would be seeing Python, data science, Python, machine learning. So that's what we are seeing here. And like this you can fetch any single column by using this particular syntax. Now let's see how to select multiple columns. Let's go to VS Code, and here I will create one more code cell. We are going to get the same data which we have got from this students.csv. For each section I would be reading data from the CSV. So for the next section at least we would be getting the fresh data. But if you want you can use the old data also, but make sure that you are using correct data. That's it. Just to keep it simple, I am every time reading data from the CSV, and then for that particular section I am using that same data. In this case we are going to use this df only, which is having data from the CSV file. There is no manipulation. Now to select multiple columns, we need to use list of column names. And in this case, we get back our data frame. Let's see how to do that. So for that, as I told, we need to use the same data frame. Inside that, we have got data from the students.csv. And here again, we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets. So it is very similar syntax to list, right? There we provide the index. Here we are providing the column name. Now we want to read data from the multiple columns. So in that case, what we need to do, inside this square brackets, again we need to provide one list. So opening and closing of square brackets. And now here we need to provide list of columns. What is list? That we have already seen into our Python course. Here we just need to provide different column names separated by comma. That would be our list. So make sure that you are providing first square brackets, right? And inside that, as you are going to provide a list, so again you are providing second pair of square brackets. Now here let's provide some column names. So let's provide name here. For that we can use single quotes or double quotes. Then after this name we need to provide comma, space, and then let's get this marks data. So here again you can use single quotes or double quotes, and here let's provide marks. And like this you can provide multiple columns. Let's say we want to get this gender. So here we can provide comma after this marks, and then within quotes we are going to provide gender. And now you can directly click on to execute cell, or if you want to save it inside one variable, let's give this variable name as data1 and then equals to. Now let's see output. So for that again I will provide this data1 here so that we are able to see output for this last statement. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got our data where we are getting name, marks and gender. So this data we are getting from this main CSV file, right? Where we have read data from the CSV as the data frame. So from this we have got name, marks and gender. And here again I can provide this type just to see the type. So for that we need to provide this type and then opening and closing of round parenthesis and then data1. You can provide any variable name which you provide here, same name you need to provide here. Now let's click on to execute cell. And see, we are able to see this pandas.dataframe. Previously when we were just fetching one column, so in that case we were able to see pandas.series. For now let me show whole data, right, where we want to get name, marks and gender, and we are able to see the output. Now let's talk about this LOC where we select data by label. So for that let me copy this for the command. Let's go to VS Code and here let's add one code cell. Let's provide this comment here and here let's use LOC. So to use LOC what we need to do, we need to provide this data frame which is df dot and then we need to use this LOC. And after this LOC we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets. So this LOC is property, not method or not function. Now here what we need to do. So previously directly we were able to provide df and then these column names. But here we are providing this df.loc and then we are going to provide that what exactly we want to fetch. So here within these square brackets we need to provide row number or row index. Let's say we want to get this particular row. So for that the index is 0. Similarly let's say we want to fetch this one. So for that the index is 8. Here let's first fetch this 0th row data. So for that what we need to do, df.loc and here we just need to provide 0 within the square brackets. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got data from our first row. So these are all column names, student ID, name, age, and here we are able to see data. See these student ID, name, age, gender, city, everything is appearing and in front of that we are able to see data also. And like this you can provide any row name to fetch that data. Now let's say we want to fetch data for multiple rows. So in that case what we need to do, we need to provide the range. So for that here we need to provide df.loc and then opening and closing of square brackets, and now we need to provide the start index as well as end index. So let's say we want to get data from the first row, so we need to provide 1 and then colon, and after that we need to provide the end index. So let's say I want to provide the data till the row which is at third index, so we need to provide the same index here. Here in this case of pandas this end index will also get included. So now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got data from the row with the index 1 until the row with the index 3. Similarly, we want to make it 5. So in that case, you would be getting data from the first row till the fifth row, which means from the first index row till the fifth index row. Now let's say we want to fetch data for this second index row, and there also we just want to get this student name. So in that case, what we need to do, we need to provide this df.loc and then opening and closing of square brackets. And here let's say we want to fetch this row for which the index is 3. So we need to provide 3 and then comma. So we have already provided which row we want to fetch. Now we are going to provide the column, that which column we want to fetch. So let's say we want to fetch this name. So here as the string we need to provide this name, which is our column name. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got data from the row which is at index number 3, and here we are only able to see data from the column which is this name. Similarly, let's say you want to fetch multiple columns from this particular row. So in that case what you will have to do, you'll have to provide this df.loc and then opening and closing of square brackets. Here let's provide this 3 comma, and this time rather than providing the string directly we would be providing a list, and here we would be providing the column name. So let's try to fetch this name and then second element of the list. So for that we need to provide comma, and after this comma we need to provide the second column name. So here let's try to fetch this city. So copy this name or you can directly type it, and here after this comma inside this list we need to provide this second column name. Let's provide city here, and inside this list you can provide multiple columns separated by commas and we would be able to see output. For now we are going to get data from this third index row, and here we are going to get name and city now. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got name Mia Sharma, city as Mumbai. So this is our first column data which is name, and this is our second column data which is city. And like this you can try to provide multiple columns and you would be getting data accordingly. And here for now I'm just showing the output. For this output In real case, you would be saving it inside one variable and then you can use that data for your development. So here you need to understand this basic thing. When we are just providing this first item, which is a number, which is our index number, so we were getting data from the specific row. Here we have got data for the rows which are having index number 1 to 5. And here we are providing the index number, comma, and then the column name also. So row number which we want and then the column name which we want. Right? So here we need to provide the row value, comma, and then the column value. Now let's say I want to fetch data from first index till the fifth index and I want name, city and marks. So how to do that? So for that we need to provide df dot loc and then opening and closing of square brackets. And here first we need to provide the section that which data we want. So for that, as I told, we want to get data from the first index till the fifth index. So here we need to provide 1:5, the same thing which we have saw here. And then we need to provide the comma to provide the column name. And here we want multiple columns. So in that case, we need to use this square brackets. And then let's provide this name, then comma inside this list, and again city as the string, then comma, and then marks. Now let's click onto this execute cell. And see, we have got data from the first index till the fifth index. And we have got data for these columns, which are name, city and marks. And like this, you can try to fetch different set of data. Try to use them, save it inside one variable. You can perform any other operation on that. Now here let's talk about iloc, where we select data by position. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one more code cell. And now we need to provide DataFrame, which is df.iloc. And here again we need to provide row, and optionally you can also provide column. So for now let's provide this row as 0. Here we are not providing any column name, which means all the column names we want to see, which is very similar to the loc. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got all the data for our first row. Here let me add the comment also, which is iloc select by position. For that, hit enter, provide hash and then this particular comment. Now it is very similar to the loc, right? We are just providing the row number. Similarly, we want to fetch the data within the range that we want to get data from the second row till the sixth row. So in that case, what we need to do? Again, we need to follow the same syntax. Only thing is that we would be using iloc. So here we need to provide df.iloc. And here let's provide the range. For that, opening and closing of square brackets. And now we want to provide the range, which is 2, then colon. So 2 is our starting index. And then colon, and after colon we need to provide 6 or any number for which we want to fetch data. Now again let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got data from the second row till the fifth row. And here if you will notice, we have got data only till fifth row. This sixth row is not included here. So in case of iloc, we are providing the index, and this particular AND index will get excluded. So from the second index till the fifth index and -1 index, we are able to see output. Actually, if you will see it carefully, here we are providing the index, but here in this case also we have provided index, but we are actually providing this row name. So on place of this 0, let's say if there would be any separate row name, so that we would have provided with this loc, because we need to provide it by label. But in case of iloc, we just need to provide the index only. Now here let's try to provide row and column also. So for that, df.iloc and then opening and closing of square brackets. Now let's try to fetch data for the 0th row, comma, and then we need to provide the column. So previously we were providing the column name, but here in case of iloc, again we'll have to provide the index of the column. So let's say we want to get student ID. So in that case, index would be 0 only. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got data for the 0th row and the 0th column, which is 101. See here, if you will see the full table, you would be able to get that first student ID is 101. Now similarly, we can get range also. So for that, let me provide this df dot and then iloc square brackets, and here let's provide row number as 0, comma, space, and now here we would be providing range. Let's say we want to get from the first column till the third column. So in that case, what we'll have to do? We will have to provide this 0 for the first column, colon, until the second or third or any column. Here I will provide fourth which means we are going to get the output for the column which is having index 3. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got student ID, name, age and gender column which is having index 0, 1, 2 and 3. Till the third we are getting. This 4 is not included. And here we are just fetching the single rows. That's why we are able to see output like this. Let's say we want to fetch multiple rows. So in that case, we'll have to provide df.iloc. And here, let's say I want to provide row number for some range from 0th index till 3rd index. So for that, we will have to provide 3 plus 1, which is 4. And then we need to provide column. And now let's try to fetch some of the columns. Let's try to fetch it for the first index till 5th index. So for that, we will have to provide 6 here. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got output for the index of the row, which is 0th index till the 3rd index. And we have got column from the index 1 till the index 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This 6 is not included. And like this, you can play with this LOC, iloc, try to provide row, column, or you can also try to provide row range and column range and see what kind of data you are able to fetch. That's it. Now let's see the next topic, which is iterate rows with iterrows and iter tuples. Let me copy this for the command. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one more new code cell. Let's provide this comment here, so hash and then this comment. And now here, just like a for loop on a list, you can loop through the row in DataFrame. Iterrows is easy to read. Iter tuples is faster. And in real project, actually, you need not to prefer these for loops. Now let's see first how to use this iterrows. So for that, we need to provide for loop. So for, and here we want to iterate through each row, and that's why we are going to use this iterrows. And through that, we can get index also. So index, comma, and here we are fetching this row. So I am providing this temporary variable name as row. This is a simple for loop. Then we need to provide this in keyword. And then we would be providing this df, which is our data frame, which is containing data from the CSV, right? I'm using the same data for this select data section. So I'm using this df dot and then iterrows and then opening and closing of round parenthesis and then colon, hit enter, and after one tab indentation, you can print something or you can perform any operation inside this for loop. For now, let's try to print value of this index. So print here I would be using, and then I will provide this index. So index would be from 0 to 19, right? From 0th index till the 19th index. Let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got index number from 0 to 19. Similarly, we can also get this row. So for that, I will provide this print, and then within the round parenthesis, let's provide row. And here what we can do, we can provide index, comma row. So we would also be able to see index of the specific row. So index, comma row. If you just want to see the row, in that case, you can provide row only. And let me comment out this part. We would be printing index here only. So index and rows side by side, we would be able to see. Now let's click on to execute cell. And what is this index and row? So these are temporary variable name. And here we are going to get the index number. Here we are going to get the whole row. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see for the 0th index, we have got this data. These are column names and these are data. See, student ID is 101, name is Ali Khan, age is 22. And like this, for each index, we have got whole data for each and every row. To see the whole output, you can click onto this scrollable element, or you can also open it inside the text editor. But for now, I have opened it here only. Now here we have used iterrows. Now let's try to use iter tuple. For that, let me add one more code cell. And here again, we need to provide this for keyword for the for loop. And here we would be getting row. So row in and then df, which is our data frame, dot iter tuples. And then opening and closing of round parenthesis, then colon, hit enter, and after one tab indentation, we can provide any code. And here for now, let's print value of this row only. So let's provide row here. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got tuple for each and every row, right? This index is 0, student ID is 101, name is Ali Khan, and for each row we have got this tuple, right? Why we are saying tuple? Because the data is there inside opening and closing of round parenthesis. What is tuple? That I've already explained into this course. If you are not aware about it, go and watch the specific tuple related video. Now we don't want to see whole data, but we want to see the specific data. So how to do that? So in that case, when we are using this row, we can also provide dot and then the specific item name. Let's say we want to get this index, so we can provide this index here. So row dot index. If we want to get the name, so row dot name. Similarly, if we want to get the city, so row dot city. Let's do that. So here let's first get the row dot and then index. Here we need to provide this particular name. So here I is capital, so that's why I have given I capital for this index. Now let's fetch student ID. So comma row dot student ID. Similarly, let's get the name. So for that we need to provide row dot name. Make sure you are providing correct casing. Here in the name N is capital. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got specific data. We have got the index number, student ID and name. Let's say we want to get the gender also. So inside this print statement only, this is a print statement. That's why we are able to use comma so that we are able to see data separated properly. Now here let's say we want to get marks also. So in that case we can provide comma. This comma is part of this print, right? We are providing this comma so that data is properly separated with the space. Now let's provide row dot marks. So these are our column names, student ID, name, marks, right? See student ID, name, marks. So that's what we are providing here. And for the index, we need to provide capital I and DEX. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got marks also. So for now we are just printing this data, but actually you would be using this data. You would be saving it inside one variable and then you would be using it. So in case of iter row, we were able to see data like this. And in case of iter tuples, we are able to see data like this. So here we are fetching the whole row as the tuple and then we are able to fetch values from that particular tuple. That's it. And here I would like to give you one pro tip that avoid using these loops on larger data frame. For now we are just having 19 or 20 rows, so it is okay to use it. But actually in real projects you would be having very large data frame. So in that case it is not recommended to use these for loop with this iter rows and iter tuples. But you should be aware about it. If you are seeing this particular code, you should be aware that what it is, how to use this. Now let's go to the next section, which is filtering data. So filtering means showing only the rows that matches a condition, like where clause in SQL or filter in Excel. You write a condition and Pandas return only the true rows. Here we would be seeing multiple topics like filter with one condition, filter with multiple conditions, isin, which is used to filter from a list, query for filtering using plain text. For now, let's start with this filter with one condition. But before that, let me copy this filtering data and let's go to VS Code. Here, let's provide one markdown and let's provide it as the main heading. So double hash, and then this particular name. Here you can press Alt, Control and Enter just to see this heading. Now let's add one more code cell. And here, now we are going to learn about filter with one condition. So copy this and here we will provide it as the comment. So hash and then this comment. Now how to filter with one condition. So for that, what we need to do, we need to get the data frame first. And how we can get data frame? So we can get data frame by reading data from the CSV. If you want to create your own data frame by using dictionary, that you can do. But just to save the time, we are just directly using CSV and reading the data. In real life, actually, you would not be creating data. You would be reading such files and then you would be getting data. So the same thing we are doing here. So here again, I will read data from the CSV so that we do not mix anything, right? Every time we have fresh data. So for that, what we need to do, we need to provide pd.read_csv and here we need to provide path with the file name .csv. So within double quotes, we need to provide .data/students.csv. See, automatically also we saw the suggestions, so I've used that. Now let's save it inside one variable as df. You can give any name here. You can give proper student_df or student_DataFrame. So that's totally up to you. Here we are using this df, then equals to. And here let me provide it into separate cell. That's totally up to you. Here I am providing it into separate cell for this particular section. Now let's remove it from here. Now we would be able to use this data frame. First let me execute it and now we can use it. So now we need to filter based on the condition. So for that we need to use this data frame, which is df, where we are having this students.csv data, then opening and closing of square brackets. And here how to provide the condition. First let me show you the table So df, here only I am showing the table so that it would be easy to compare. Let me click onto this execute cell. So now let's put a condition that we want to fetch the student data who has got marks above 90. So here you would be able to see there are few students who are having marks above 90. So how to do that? So for that, here after this df then square brackets, we need to provide the condition. And as we are going to provide the condition onto this marks, so let's try to first fetch the marks. So inside these square brackets only, we would be again using df and then opening and closing of square brackets, and then within the quotes we need to provide marks. And it is very same thing, right? Here we are just trying to fetch marks column. So df and then marks. So when we use this df and then the column name, so we got the whole column data. So that's what we are doing here. And here after this df square bracket marks, we need to provide the condition. So here as I told, we want to get students with the marks greater than or equals to 90. So greater than, equals to, and then 90. You can provide any condition. Now here let's click onto this execute cell directly. If you want, you can save it inside one variable and then can use that variable, or directly use the variable to print the value or whatever you want to use it. Now let's click onto this execute cell. Here we would be able to see output directly because we are just providing data frame and then the square brackets. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got data for 3 students only. And here if you will have a look at these marks, so we have got the data for the students who have got marks greater than 90. So 92, 91 and 95. See, only these 3 records are there which are having marks greater than 90. And as I told, if you want, you can save it inside one variable. Let's say I will provide filter here or filtered here equals to, and then we can use this variable name which is filtered. Execute it and we have got the same output. Now let's see the next topic, which is filtering data with multiple conditions. So let me copy this heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one more new code cell. And here let's provide it as the command, hit enter. And now we would be fetching data but based on multiple conditions. So for that again we need to provide data frame that we have already got from the CSV, opening and closing of square brackets. And here we need to provide conditions. So let's say we want to fetch data where marks are greater than 80 and age is greater than 25. So in that case, let's provide first condition, which is marks should be greater than 80. So the same thing we need to provide df and then opening and closing of square brackets, and here we need to provide the column name which is marks. And here what is condition? So the condition is that marks should be greater than 80. So greater than, equals to, and then 80. And now we want to provide multiple conditions. So in that case, let's say we want to provide condition 1 and condition 2. So for that we need to use this ampersand. And here again let's provide df, then opening and closing of square brackets, and then within the quotes let's provide the age. So opening and closing of quotes, and here we will provide this age. So we would be having whole age column. Now we want to check that the age should be greater than 25. So here we need to provide greater than and then 25. And like this you can provide multiple conditions. Here we are providing AND, which means both the conditions or any conditions which you provide should get satisfied. In this case both these conditions should get satisfied. Then only it would be showing data. Now let's click onto this execute cell. And here we are getting one error. Actually the error is that we need to provide these conditions properly. So within these round parentheses we need to provide these conditions. So we are providing this condition 1 within the round parenthesis, then we need to provide and again for this particular condition also we need to provide round parenthesis. So inside these round parentheses we would be providing conditions. And like this if you want to provide more and more conditions, so you will have to provide this and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and in between you need to provide such conditions. Now let's click onto this execute cell so that we should be able to see data and these errors should go away. Let's click onto this and see we have got data where the condition was that mark should be greater than 80. So we have got 84, 95, 91 and age should be greater than 25. So here we are able to see these 3 age which are greater than 25 only. Here you can see the whole data, and from here you can validate that only these many records are having numbers greater than 80 and also age greater than 25. You can do this analysis, but for now we just need to provide this one single line and automatically our data is filtered. And like this, you can try to provide multiple conditions, different values, and see what happens. In case of any doubt, just let me know into the comment section below. Now let's see the next topic, which is isin, filter from a list. Let me copy it. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one more code cell. Let's provide this comment, so hash and then isin, filter from a list. Now here how to use this isin. So for that, first I would be creating one list. I will be showing what we are going to do with this list. For now, I'm just going to prepare one list with the name equals to, and this time I would be providing the list with the name which are there inside this particular data frame. Let's say I will provide this Raj Malhotra, Pooja Reddy, Ritika Shah, Ali Khan, John D'Souza. Let's provide them. So for that we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets, which we do to create a list. Now we need to provide these names. So within single quotes or double quotes, let's try to provide these names quickly. Here let's provide Pooja Reddy, and after this first item, comma, and then let's provide Ritika Shah. So within quotes, Ritika Shah. Then let's provide this Ali Khan. So comma, within the quotes, Ali Khan, again comma, and then let's fetch this John D'Souza. So within the quotes, this John D'Souza. Now we have got the list. Like it, you can create the list as per your requirement. Now we are going to use isin. Using that, we would be able to filter from a list. Now let's see how to use this isin. So for that, again we would be using this df and then square brackets, and inside it we are going to provide that isin. So what we want to filter it based on the name that inside our main data frame. We want to filter if these names are there inside that particular data frame. So these are all names which are correct one. So here let's provide this df, opening and closing of square brackets, and here we need to provide the column name which is name, which is this one. And here we are going to use this isin. So after this data frame name, we need to provide dot and then isin. After that, we need to provide opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we just need to provide this variable name which is name, or let's keep this variable name as names because it contains multiple names. So isin, and within the round parenthesis, let's provide this names. So what we are saying that if this condition is true, if our name column data matches with these names, so we want to see the output. So now we have provided it. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got 4 records because all these 4 names were correct only. Pooja Reddy, Ritika Shah, Ali Khan and John D'Souza. And like this you can filter any data based on these conditions which we will provide. Now let's see the next topic, which is query. So this query lets you write filter conditions as a simple readable string. Here we need not to provide brackets or df square brackets repetition. It is much cleaner for complex condition. Now let's see how to use this query. Let me copy this particular heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's provide this command. So hash and then query. Now let's see how to use that. So again we need to use it onto that data frame. So df, don't get confused between pd and df. When we are providing this df, which means we are using data frame. And then after this df, we need to provide dot and then query. So query. Now we need to provide opening and closing of round parenthesis. So we provided this query, which is a method, and here we are going to pass argument, which would be plain text. Now here let's say we want to provide a single condition, like we provided that marks should be greater than 90. So here we provided this df and then again square brackets, then inside it again we provided df and then the square brackets with the column name. But now with this query it would be little simple. Let's say we want to check that mark should be greater than equals to 90. Now here within the query we need to provide the condition as the plain text only. So now let's provide one condition. So previously when we provided this one condition, so what we did this df then square brackets, again we provided df with the square brackets and the column name and then the condition. But here in case of query, things will be little simple. What we need to do inside the query, we just need to provide it as the plain text. So here what we will give, we need to provide the column name directly which is marks. So within the quotes I am doing this. So marks within the quotes and then space, and here what is our condition? That marks should be greater than equals to 90. So we need to provide greater than equals to and then 90. That's it. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got output where we have got these 3 rows where marks are greater than 90. So we have got the similar rows, right? Here also we were getting similar row in case of this single condition. Now let's see how to provide multiple conditions. That also we just need to provide as the query. So we'll provide same condition that marks should be greater than equals to 80 and age should be greater than 25. So here this syntax was little complex, that we need to provide this df square brackets then df square brackets greater than equals to 80, and that too within the round parenthesis. Now let's make it simple with the apply. But we would be using the same condition that marks should be greater than 80 and age should be greater than 25. Let's provide that. So here I will hit enter and inside the same code cell I will provide this df dot query and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we will provide 2 conditions. So we want to have marks greater than 80 and age greater than 25, the same condition which we have used with these square brackets. Now let's provide it here. So here within the single quotes or double quotes we need to provide this marks then the condition which is greater than equals to 80. Now we have one more condition. So within these double quotes only we need to provide and then we need to provide condition based on the age. So age greater than 25. That's it. See, it is very simple. We are just providing these conditions or filters as the string. Now let's click on to this execute cell and we are able to see output for this last piece of code. And see, we are getting data where marks are greater than 80 and age is greater than 25. The same thing we have got previously here also. See, rows from index number 5, 10 and 14 are appearing. In this case also rows from index number 5, 10 and 14 are appearing. And here one more thing I would like to add, that we can also use variable inside this query. How to use that? So here I will provide this same condition with the help of a variable name. So here we want to put score or mark value, mark underscore value or val equals to 90. And now we would be using this particular variable inside this query rather than hard coding this value. So let's see that. So for that we need to provide this df dot query and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here again we need to provide these quotes and inside it let's provide this marks greater than equals to, and here rather than providing this hard coded value we would be providing this variable name. And how to provide the variable name here? So for that you need to use this @ symbol and then you need to provide this variable name which is mark underscore val. You can provide any variable name, and like this if you are using multiple conditions, so for that also you can use variables inside the query by using this @. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got data where marks are greater than 90. 91, 92 and 95 marks rows are appearing because it is satisfying our condition. And like this it is up to you that how you want to filter your data by all these ways which I have shown you. For now you need to do the practice so that you would be able to understand this particular concept properly. Now let's go to the next section, which is adding and modifying columns. In data analysis, you often need to create a new column from existing ones, like calculating a grade from a score or combining first and last name into a full name. So here under this section, we are going to cover these topics like add a new column, modify an existing columns, and use this apply for applying custom logic per row. Now let's see these topics one by one. For now, let me copy this heading and let's provide this heading for this particular section. For that, add this markdown, provide ## space and then this adding and modifying columns. Press Alt Control Enter to stop editing. Now first we are going to talk about adding a new column. Let's copy it. Let's go to VS Code. Let me add one new code cell here, and here let's provide this particular comment. Now we want to add a new column. For that we need the existing data. There we want to add a new column, and to get the new data again I would be using that same CSV file, right? So we would be reading data from this particular CSV into the data frame. For that we are going to use this df equals to pd, which is for pandas dot read underscore CSV, and then within the round parenthesis we need to provide the path and the file name. So within the quotes dot / data / students.csv. Let's provide this particular line into a separate code cell here, and let's execute it so that we are having the fresh data now. And as I told you, every time you need not to do this. You can do this first time and then you can use it, but every time I just want to use the fresh data, so that's why I'm providing it every time for each section. Now let's see how to add a new column. So for now, how our data looks like, let me show that to you. Here, let's provide this df. So here we would be able to see this data from this particular CSV. And now I want to add a new column based on the marks. So if marks are greater than 80, so I want to add a new column that student is eligible for the scholarship or not. Let's see how to do that. So here what we would be doing, we would be using the same data frame, which is df. And here what we want to check, that marks are greater than equals to 80. So for that we need to provide this square brackets. And here what we want to fetch, we want to fetch marks. So marks, which is our column header name. And here what we want to check, that it should be greater than equals to 80. And here I want to create one more new column, which is scholarship eligible, where if person is eligible for the scholarship, which means if the student is having marks greater than 80, so there I want to put true, else I want to put false. So now how to create a new column? So for that what we would be doing, we would be providing this df and then opening and closing of square brackets, and then within the quotes we can provide a new column name. So what is our column heading? So here we can provide any string. Here I want to provide is scholarship eligible. So here let's provide it like this, is underscore scholarship underscore eligible. So now this is our new column name, which we are going to get here for the existing data frame. And at the end we would be able to see that column name. And for each row we would be adding some data. So what data we want to add? So we want to add true or false. If marks are greater than equals to 80, so add true for that particular row inside this column. And if marks are less than 80, so add false there. So for that we need to put true or false here based on the condition. And how to do that? So here we have already created this particular condition, df marks greater than equals to 80. So what we can do, let me remove it from here. Here we need to put equals to and then this condition. This condition directly I am putting because we want to add true and false. So if marks are greater than equals to 80, we would be getting true. And then for that particular row inside this column, we would be able to see true. And if marks are less than 80, so in that case, for that particular row, we would be able to see false. Now let's print value of this df. So with this, we would be able to see the output. And now let's click onto this execute cell. And see, we have got this data frame value again, which is a whole table. And at the end, if you will notice, we have got one more column. See, previously it was not there, but here we have added a new column where we are able to see true or false. So see, if marks are greater than 80, we have got true here. See, for this 92, we have got true. But if marks are 55, which is less than 80, so we have got false. Here also for 76, we have got false, and so on. And like this, you can create any column and you can put any data here. For now, we have put true and false. You can put any other data like numbers or strings. And now we know how to add a new column and how to add values there. Now let's see the next topic, which is modify an existing column. So here we would be updating column values with any calculation applied to every row and thread. So here let me copy this, modify an existing column. Let's go to VS Code. Here let me add one more code cell. Let's add this comment, so hash and then this comment. And now here we are going to update or modify an existing column. Let's see how to do that. So here we will modify this marks. So what we are going to do, we are going to increase marks by 2. So now here what we would be doing, we would be giving extra bonus marks to each and every student. So here let's provide 2 bonus marks to each and every student. So for that what we need to do, we need to provide this df and then opening and closing of square brackets. And here which column we want to modify? We want to modify marks column. So here within the quotes we need to provide marks, which is our existing column name, this one. And then we need to provide equals to, and now what we want to do, we want to give extra bonus 2 marks to each and every student. So for that first we need to get the existing marks. How to do that? So same thing, df opening and closing of square brackets, and then within the quotes we need to provide this marks. So we would be getting marks for each and every student one by one. And now what we need to do, we need to provide plus and then 2. That's it. And now what should happen? So for each student under this marks column, 2 bonus marks should get added. So on place of this 88, we would be getting 90. On place of 92, we would be getting 94. On place of this 55, we would be getting 57 and so on. And now let me print value of this df so that we are able to see the output. And now let's click on to this execute cell. And see, we are able to see output for this data frame. But now here if you will notice, extra 2 bonus marks got added for each and every student. See, on place of this 88, we are able to see 90. On place of 92, we are able to see 94. And so on for each and every student, we have added extra 2 bonus marks like this. So here with this, we fetched the current marks, then we added 2 there, and then we assigned this particular value to the existing column for each and every row. Right, so here we need to provide the existing column name where we want to assign the values. Like this, you can modify any data. You can modify these strings also, or on place of gender, you can try to provide M or F. How you need to do that? That is your assignment. Try to do that in case of any query or any issue, just let me know into the comment section below. Now let's see the next topic, which is apply, where we would be applying custom logic per row. So here apply runs a function on every value in a column. Very powerful for custom transformations. Let's see how to use this. For that, let's go to VS Code. First, let me copy this particular heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here, let's add one more new code cell. And let's provide this comment here. And now let me first explain that what we are going to do. So I have one requirement that I want to add grades for these students. So if numbers are greater than 90, I want to give the grade as A. If numbers are greater than 80 but less than 90, in that case we want to give grade as B. And if numbers are less than 80, so in that case we want to give grade as C. So numbers greater than 90, grade A. If it is greater than 80, grade B. And if it is less than 80, in that case grade is C. Let's see how to do that. So for that only we are going to use this apply. So here first we would be creating one function. How to create the function, that I've already explained. For that you can go to this Python playlist and watch that function related video. For now I would be using that concept only. So here to create the function we need to provide this def space and then the function name. Here let's give the function name as get grade. So get underscore grade, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here it would be accepting one parameter which is mark for each student. So mark. You can also provide score, any variable name you can give, and then we need to provide this colon, hit enter, and now we need to put code inside this particular function. So here we want to put a condition that if score is greater than 90, return A. If it is greater than 80, return B. And if it is less than 80, return C. Which means in case of any other condition, return C. So here what we would be doing, we would be using this if and then this mark. And here on place of mark, you can provide any name, like score also you can provide, or X you can provide. It is just the parameter name, right? But just provide the meaningful variable name. Now we want to check that if score is greater than equals to 90. So in that case, return A. So for that we need to provide this colon, and here hit enter, and after 2 tab indentation, right? So 1 tab indentation is for this particular function, and then this next tab indentation is for this if condition. And here we just want to put return A. So return, and then as a string we want to return capital A. Now hit enter. Now we want to put a else if condition. So if this particular condition is not true, which means number or score is not greater than 90, so then what to do? So in that case we want to provide this elif, and here we want to give score greater than equals to 80, and then colon hit enter. After 2 tab indentation we want to return B here, which is a string. And if both of these conditions are not true, which means number or score is not greater than 90 and score is not greater than 80, so in that case what we want to do, we want to return C, and here directly we would be using this else colon hit enter. After 2 tab indentation we need to provide this return, and then within the single quotes or double quotes we are providing this C, which is a string. So now we have this function, and now we want to apply this condition onto our data frame, where we would be adding a new column where we would be able to see these grades, and we will give the column name as grade only. Let's see how to do that. Let's hit enter. Let's go to the first column only. Make sure you are not providing any tab. If you are providing any tab, so it will get considered inside the function. Now what we want to do, we want to create a new column. So for that, what we need to do, we need to give this df and then opening and closing of square brackets. And here we need to provide the new column name. Here the column name is grade, grade. Then we want to assign some values here. So for that, we need to give this equals to. And here, what we want to check, we want to check this particular marks column. So for that, what we would be giving, we would be giving this df, opening and closing of square brackets, and then within the quotes, we need to provide this marks. And now onto these marks, we want to provide apply, right? We want to use these marks values. Each value which we are having for each student, we want to use it. So here, what we would be doing, we would be providing dot and then apply. And then we need to provide opening and closing of round parentheses. And this apply is a method. See here, if you will mouse over, you would be able to see this. This apply is a method, and here you would be able to see more details related to it. For now, here what we need to provide this function, which is getGrade. You can give any function name. We have given the name like this. So under this apply, we need to pass an argument which is getGrade, which is our function. And here it needed one argument. So how this argument will get passed? Here we are not providing this opening and closing of round parentheses and then providing a score. What we are doing, we are directly using this apply onto the marks, right? So these marks only we want to provide one by one to this getGrade function. So automatically when we are using this df marks dot apply, so each and every score or marks will get provided to this getGrade function as we are using this dot apply and then we are passing this getGrade. So to keep it simple, we need to provide the column dot apply and there we need to pass the function name. That's it. And here what would be happening? Once this function calling would be happening, so here it would be checking if marks for this first student is greater than 90, then return A. Otherwise, if it is greater than 80, then return B, else return C. And like this, it would be happening for each and every row. And as we are returning this A, B and C, so these A, B and C value will get assigned to our new column. So for each row, we would be able to see either A or B or C there into the data frame. That's it. Now let's print value of this df. And now let's click on to this execute cell. And see, we have got one more column, which is a grade. And here if you will compare, if marks are greater than equals to 90, then we have got A. See here we have got A. For 94 we have got A. For 57 we have got C because it is not greater than 80 or 90. For 78 we have got C. For 47 we have got C. And similarly here, C marks are greater than 80 but less than 90, so we have got B. And like this you can use apply to provide a custom logic for each row. So for each row we have got marks and then we have provided those marks to this particular function, and from here you can provide or return anything which will get assigned to your column like this. And here if you have noticed, we have got this is scholarship eligible column also. Here also previously we have added 2 number where we modified the existing column, so that data is also here. So this is updated data frame now. And that's why previously if you have seen that every time I would be getting the new data from the CSV like this, so that we have the fresh data. Otherwise if you will use next data frame for other sections also, you would be having this modified data, and that I don't want to do. Otherwise it will create unnecessary confusion, and that I wanted to avoid. So for now you try to use this apply onto any other column and let me know in case of any issue. Like you can check this attendance, and based on the attendance you can give admission card to the students. So for that you can create one column that if a student is eligible for the admission card or not based on the attendance. You try to do that, you will be getting an idea about that. Here it is not like that. You can create a new column only. If you want to modify the existing column, that also you can do with the help of this apply or directly with this way. It's totally up to you. Now let's go to the next section, which is handling missing data. So in real world, data is messy. It has missing values called NaN, which is not a number. Pandas give you tools to find, fill or move these missing values before analysis. And here under this section, I'm going to cover these topics, which is to detect missing values, fill missing values, and drop rows for the missing values. Let's see them one by one. First, let's see this detect missing values. For now, let me copy this heading. Let's go to VS Code. Then let's provide one markdown. and provide // space this heading and click on to this top editing, or you can also press Ctrl Alt and enter. Now let's copy our first topic, which is detect missing values. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one more code cell. Let's provide this command, which is hash and then detect missing values. So to detect missing values, we are going to use isnull method. So isnull returns true wherever data is missing. Let's see how to use that. So our main goal is to detect missing values. So first let me show you what are missing values. So here let's go to this students.csv, and here see, for this student Suresh Tiwari, we are having missing marks. And like this, there can be any cell for which data is missing. Let's remove marks for this Sneha Joshi. So here also we are not having any value. We can also remove gender for Sara Mehta. So I am considering this particular data is missing. Like this, there can be any data which can be missing from here. Let me save it. Let's go to our notebook. Here now let me read this CSV. So for that, let me add this code cell. Here to read the CSV, again we need to provide this df equals to, so this df is for DataFrame, which we are going to read from the CSV. And here we need to provide pd, which is for pandas dot read underscore CSV. And here we need to provide this path for the file, which is students.csv. So within the quotes, ./data/students.csv. Execute it. Here let's print the value also. So df and then execute it. See, if you will notice, here we have got nan. Here also for this particular student we have removed the value, so we have got nan, which is not a number. Here for the gender also we removed this value. See, no value was there. So here we are able to see this nan. So anywhere if the value is missing, we would be able to see nan. For the string you can also see none. So don't get confused. Now let's detect these values. So for that, what we need to do, we need to use isnull method. How to use this? For that we need to provide this data frame, which is df, which we have just created here. And here we need to use this dot and then isnull. And then opening and closing of round parenthesis. If you will mouse over here, you would be able to see this isnull is a method which detect missing values. And here for now, let's execute it directly and see what we are getting. See, we have got a table or data frame. Here we are having this column name, but we are able to see boolean values. And here if you will notice, wherever there was a nan, so on that place we would be getting true. See, for this gender, for this particular row, which is at index number 1, we were having none value. So here we have got true. And similar thing we are going to get for the marks. So see, here for this particular index number 9, we were having nan value. For the index 16 also we were having nan. So at that place we should be able to see true. See, at the index number 9 we have got true for the marks, and at the index number 16 also we are able to see true for marks. Now it is little difficult to read this, but here we can also use sum to specifically get the column name and then number of counts, that for that particular column how many none values are there. Let's see that quickly. So here directly onto this is null, we need to put this dot and then we need to provide the sum and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. So again, if you will mouse over onto the sum, you would be able to see this is a method. It returns the sum of the values over the requested axis. Now let's click on to this execute cell. Automatically we would be able to see output for this last line. And here if you will mouse over, you would be able to see that this method is returning a series, which means it is going to return us or data for the one single column. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see, here we have got count for each and every column. For student ID we have got 0 because there were no missing values. Same is the case for name, age, city, course, passed and attendance. But here we are able to see count 1 for the gender because there was one missing value for the gender, which is this one. And similarly for the marks we are able to see count as 2 because inside this marks column we were having missing values for 2 rows, here and here. So that's why we have got 2. And like this, it would be easy for you to find out that for which particular column values are missing. And here, as I told you, by mouse hovering on it, you would be able to see that it is returning a series because it is just returning this particular series where we have got count. This is kind of index, right? This particular part is kind of index. It is not necessary that we would be getting index as 0, 1, 2, 3. We can also get the name on place of index. But for now, you need not to be worried about that. You should be aware that you are getting the output where you are able to see count for the null values for the specific columns. Now here we have got the information. But now we want to fill these missing values. So let's say we want to fill these missing scores. So how to do that? So this is where we are going to talk about our second topic, which is fill missing values using fillna. Let me copy this. Let me add a new port cell. And here let me provide this command. Hit enter. So here what we are going to do, we are going to fill missing values, which means we are going to modify our existing column. Here we want to fill missing values for these marks. And how to modify the existing column that we have just saw? For that we need to provide this data frame, which is df, and then opening and closing of square brackets. Here we need to provide the existing column name, which is marks. Now we want to assign some values here. So for that we need to provide this equals to, and here we want to put marks only, but for the null values. So again we will have to use this marks column, right? Because we will have to read that particular data. So for that we need to provide this df, then square brackets, and within the quotes pass marks. Now here we are going to use this dot fillna. So onto this marks column data we need to provide this dot and then fillna, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here whatever you want to fill. Let's say you want to fill 100, so you can simply give 100 like this, and 100 will get filled on place of this nan. If you want to fill 77, so you can fill 77 there. But here I would be putting a average value. So to calculate average into the numpy, we saw that we have this mean function. Same function we are going to use here. But here we want to get data from this particular marks column. So again we will be providing this df, opening and closing of square brackets, and then within the quotes we need to provide marks, and then onto this marks data we want to use this mean function, which will add a average value there. So dot and then mean, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. Here if you will mouse over onto this mean, you would be able to see this is a method. Now here what we are doing, here we are providing this particular marks, and onto this marks data we are providing this dot fillna, which is our method, and inside this fillna we can provide any value. For now what we are providing, we are providing a mean value. So again we have accessed each and every value of marks using this df square brackets marks, and then on that we are providing this mean method. So it will give us average value, and then on place of these missing values it is going to add an average value for this marks column, and then whatever the value which we are getting, we are assigning the same value here into this marks column for the nn value. Now let's give df here to see the output, and then click onto this execute cell, and see here if you will notice we are not able to see nn value for this marks. It got updated. So here this marks was missing for Suresh Tiwari and Sneha Joshi, but here if you will see for the Suresh Tiwari and Sneha Joshi we have got marks. And like this you can fill missing value using this fillna method. And it is not necessary that you just need to fill the average value. You can provide any number value if it is a number column. Similarly we can fill this gender value also. Let's say 1 or 10 or multiple values are missing. So in that case you just need to simply give this df and then opening and closing of square brackets, and here we need to provide this gender equals to again df square brackets gender, and on this we need to use this fillna. And here for this particular record we just want to pass female. So let's provide female here as the string. Now here already we have given df to see the output. Let's execute this cell and see for this particular student who is Sara Mehta we have got gender. Now nn is not appearing here. Here we have directly provided the value, but you need to provide some kind of value which will be applicable, right? I just wanted to show you that you can fill any type of missing value. And here you need to remember that we are not modifying the existing CSV. See, in the existing CSV still we are having missing data, but we are just modifying existing data frame. So whatever the data frame which we are using from here, that got modified. Here previously it was having null values, but now we have added different values for the different columns. And in future, if you are going to use the same data frame, so you would be able to see this modified details only. And that's why I told you every time I'm getting the data frame freshly from the CSV. But usually you want to use the modified data only, right? So in that case, you need to use the same data frame. Now let's go to the next topic, which is drop missing rows. For that, we are going to use this dropna method. This dropna removes any row that has at least one missing value. Let's see how to do that. Let's go to VS Code, and here let me add one more code cell. Let me provide this comment. So hash and then this comment. And here for now, for this particular data frame, we have already filled all the NN values. So again, let me get a new data frame using this CSV. We can copy the same code rather than writing it again. Here, let's provide these two lines. Let's click onto this execute cell and see now the missing values are here. We are able to see NAM here, here, and here. Now here we want to drop missing rows, which means we want to drop all the rows which are having at least one missing value. So how to do that? So in that case, we need to use this df, which is our data frame name, right? We can provide any name here. For now, just for the change, let's provide df underscore students. And here we would be using df underscore students every place only. So df underscore students dot, and here we are going to use one method which is dropna. So dropna, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here if you will mouse over, you would be able to see this is a method. You would be able to see more details once you will scroll down here. See removing missing values. Now once I will execute it, what it would be doing, it would be removing all the rows if it finds even a single missing values for that particular row. So this row, and this row will get removed. For now we are having 20 rows, and once we execute it, we will only be able to see 17 rows. Now we can save this new data frame inside one variable. Here if you will mouse over, you would be able to see this dropna returns us data frame, right? It is returning the data frame as we are getting a new data frame which has removed rows. If you want, you can save it inside one variable. Let's give this data frame name as df underscore clean, then equals to. So here we are assigning this new data frame inside this variable. Let's see the output for this variable. So let's provide this df underscore clean here. Now let's click on to this execute cell and see we have got new data frame, and here those 3 rows are missing. See student ID 102, and then further we were having student ID as 110 and 117. So all those students IDs are missing. See 117 is missing. 110 is also missing because we have removed all those rows which were having any missing data. It is very simple concept, right? Wherever for any of the row, if there is any missing value, it will simply remove it. And just remember this dropna is returning us a new data frame. And previously when we used fillna, so at that time it was returning a series because it was just returning a single column that we were assigning to the existing column. Just to get these simple details, you just need to mouse over and see here at the end of this function or method what we get. So it is returning a series, so we are able to see series here. Here if you will mouse over onto this dropna, it is returning this data frame. So that's why after this function name and these parameters, we are able to see data frame. That is our return type. Now let's go to the next section, which is sorting data. Sorting helps us to find top performers, recent records, or understand trends quickly. Pandas make it easy to sort by one or multiple columns. So here we are going to see these two topics, that sort by one column and sort by multiple columns. Let's see them one by one. Let me add this section heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add this markdown, and here let's provide double hash and then this heading. Click onto this stop editing. Now let's add one more code cell, and here we will add this comment which is sort by one column for this particular topic. So hash, and then we are going to talk about sort by one column. So for this we are going to use this sort underscore values method. Let's see how to do that. So first let me get the data into the data frame. So again we will perform the same step. We will read data from this CSV. Let me add this code cell here, and here let's create data frame df, any name you can give, equals to pd, which is for pandas, dot read underscore CSV. Then within round parenthesis, we need to provide the path with the file name. So here let's provide dot / data. So our data file is there inside this data folder. That's why we are writing this data every time, which is our path. Then / and then students.csv. Here let's see the output, provide this data frame df, and we are able to see the output. Now here what we will do, we will sort based on these marks. So for now we have the data, but here marks are not sorted. So we want to see these rows where it is sorted based on these marks. So how to do that? So for that we are going to use this data frame, which is df. You can give any name here. So here we need to provide this df dot, and then we are going to use the method which is sort underscore values. So sort underscore values, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we need to provide the column name, that based on which column we want to see the sorting. So our column name is this marks, so we can provide this same column name. So here for this particular method we need to pass the argument, which is the column name, which is marks in our case, because we want to see the sorting based on the marks. If you want to see sorting based on the age or on the course, so that's up to you. For now we are just using the single value, which is marks, as we are sorting based on the single column. Now if you want, you can assign this value inside one variable. What would be the return? Here if you will mouse over, you would be able to see it is returning a new data frame, and this data frame would be sorted based on the marks. That's it. Now let's save this data frame inside one variable. So here what we will do, we will provide this sorted underscore df equals to. So this is our data frame name, which is sorted based on the marks. Now let's see the output. So for that let's provide this sorted underscore df here. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got the output. We are able to see data here, but here if you will notice, this particular data frame is sorted based on the marks. First we are seeing lowest marks, 45, 50, 55, then it is increasing one by one, and at the end it is showing an n that you can ignore. But we have got the sorted data frame where records are sorted based on the marks. If you have used Excel, so there also we can do such sorting. So same sorting we are trying to do here. Now here for now we have just provided one argument, but similarly we can also provide one more argument here, where we can decide that we want records in the ascending order or the descending order. Let's see how to do that. So for now I will comment out this. So let's do that here. Here I will give the variable name as sorted df1. So sorted underscore df1 or df2 equals to, now we need to do the sorting, but there we would be providing one more argument. Let's see how to do that. So here we need to use this data frame dot sort underscore values is our method, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here first argument would be the column name, which is marks in our case. So let's provide marks here, which is this column name or column heading name. Then we need to provide the second argument. For that we need to put comma, and here we want to decide that we want to see the records into ascending or descending order. So for that we need to provide the argument for this parameter, which is ascending. So this is our parameter name, which is ascending equals to, and here we need to pass true or false. So if we want to see the ascending order, so in that case we can provide true here, which means sorting will be happening, but first we would be able to see the lowest marks and then we would be able to see the highest mark, and by default that was happening only. If this is true, so this is the default scenario where we would be first seeing the lowest value and then we would be seeing the highest value. So sorting is happening into the ascending order by default only, and that previously happened already, right? When we did not provided any second argument, so sorting happened into the ascending order. But this time we are going to provide this ascending equals to false, which means we are going to see sorting on the basis of descending order. First it would be showing the rows which is having higher marks, and then it would be showing rows which are having lower marks. Now let's print value of this sorted df2, as we have assigned value of this data frame, which is returning by sort values inside this variable. So let's see the output. Click onto this execute cell and see, first we are getting marks which are having highest value. So 95, 92, 91, and then it is increasing because we are getting these records into the descending order where ascending is false. And like this, you can get the sorted data by one column. Now let's see the next topic where we can do the sorting based on the multiple columns or by multiple columns. Let's see how to do that. Let me copy this comment. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add new code cell. And here we have just done the sorting. We have not modified the existing data frame. So that's why we can use this same df whenever we are modifying. So in that case, usually you would be seeing this df and then the square brackets. See here, we were modifying, so that's why we were seeing this df and then the column name within the square brackets, which means we modified the existing column. But here when we are using these methods, so it gives us new data frame which do not modify the existing data frame. Like this you can remember, but with the practice it would be able to get clear more for you. Now let's do the sorting based on the multiple columns. So previously we were just providing a single column. This time we would be providing multiple columns. Let's see how to do that. Before that, first let me add this comment. Sort by multiple columns, which is our topic. Now here to do the sorting, we are going to use the same data frame, which is df dot. Again we need to use the same method, which is sort underscore values. This one. Now opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we need to provide multiple columns for which we want to do the sorting. So now let's take one example where we want to do the sorting first based on the course name, and then we want to do the sorting based on the marks. So first let me show you the actual data frame. So df here, and see this is our actual data frame. Now onto this data frame, what we want to do? We want to do the first sorting based on the course. So first we would be able to see the course which are starting from A, B, C, D, and like this, right? The course is starting from the A will be appearing at the top, then B, then C, then D. And then there is one more column on based on that we want to do the sorting, which is marks. So once it is sorted based on the course, so let's say for the students who are learning Python, there are different marks. So in that case, the next sorting would be happening based on the marks. Let's see the output, then you would be having more clarity. Here let's provide this df, then sort underscore values, then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we need to provide the column names. And as we want to provide the multiple column names, so in that case we would be passing a list with multiple column names. And here let's provide the column names separated by comma, as it is a Python list. So first we want to do the sorting based on the course. So here let's provide this course, which is this column header name. And then we need to provide the second header name inside this list. So provide comma here, and then within the course we need to provide marks. And like this you can do the sorting based on multiple columns. Now let's save it inside one variable, which is sorted underscore df1 equals to. You can give any variable name here. Now let's print value of this sorted df1. Click onto this execute cell, and see we have got our sorted data, and here first it got sorted based on the course. See, data science is appearing first, and then machine learning, then Python. So alphabetically if you will see, D comes first, then M, then P. So that's how this sorting is happening. Now we have provided the second column also, where we wanted to do the sorting based on the marks. So that also you can see. See here, this data science marks are appearing, but here first it is showing the lowest number 45, then 50, then it is increasing, right? It is into the ascending order. I told you, right? By default, if we are not providing that second argument, we would be getting data into the ascending order only. Similarly, for the machine learning, we are able to see records which are having lower score, and then it is increasing. Like this, our sorting is happening based on the two columns. First based on the course, and then we have provided marks at the second position. So the second sorting is happening based on the marks. And here also we can provide the second argument, which is for the ascending parameter. Let's see how to do that. So here let's do the same thing by using this sort values. For now, variable name I will give as sorted df2. So sorted underscore df2 equals to then df dot sort underscore values. Then within opening and closing of round parenthesis, we need to provide this list where we need to provide the column name based on which we want to do the sorting. And the sorting will be happening into this order only. First, it would be sorting based on the first column name which we have provided. And then it would be sorting based on the second column name. So now this is the same thing we have provided here. Now we want to provide the second argument. So for that we need to provide this comma after this first argument, which is a list. And then we need to provide the parameter name, which is ascending, and then equals to. And here previously we have provided directly the flag true or false because only one column was there, this one. But here we are having two columns, so we need to provide this ascending values for each and every column. So for that you just need to simply pass a list. This time we would not be passing value directly. Here we would be passing a list where we would be providing true or false. So here for the scores column we want to keep this ascending as true only. So let's provide true here. And here for this marks column we want to provide this ascending argument value as false. So here after this true put a comma and then let's provide false. So the first sorting which is happening, for that the ascending would be true. So we would be able to see the same thing, data science, then machine learning, then Python here. But in case of marks we would be seeing the records which are having higher value at the top. Let me see the output for this sorted df2. So let's provide it here, and now let's click on to this execute cell. We would be able to see one data frame only because at the last we have just provided this sorted df2. Let's click on to this execute cell and see our data got sorted. First on the basis of this scores column, which is into the ascending order, and then on the basis of this marks. So for these data science, if you have noticed, now we are able to see greater marks at the top, then it is decreasing. So it is into the descending order because for this ascending was false. So like this you can sort your data by single column or by multiple columns. You can try it with different column values and just let me know in case of any doubt. When I would be pushing the code, I would be pushing these data files also to you so that you would be able to use these same data files. Now let's go to the next section, which is GroupBy and aggregation. So GroupBy is one of the most powerful feature in Pandas. It groups rows that share a value, then lets you calculate statics per group. And under this section, we are going to see these two topics, basic GroupBy and multiple aggregations. Now let's see first topic, which is basic GroupBy. First, let me copy this section heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here, let's add one markdown and let's provide double hash, and then this particular heading. Press Alt, Control and Enter. Now let's talk about this basic GroupBy. Let me copy it to put it as the comment. And here let's add one code cell, put hash and then this comment. So here what we are going to do, we will group by a column, then apply a function like mean, sum or count on that. Let's see how to do that. So first to start, we need to get a data frame. And how to get the data frame? You can create your own data frame, or we can simply use the CSV to get a data frame that we have previously done. Every time we are doing it so that we can get a fresh data which is not manipulated. So for that, let me add one code cell at the top, and here let's get the data frame from the CSV. So df equals to pd, which is for pandas, dot read underscore CSV, and here we need to provide the path, and here we need to provide path of the CSV, then file name dot CSV. So within the codes dot / data / students underscore CSV. Any CSV name you can give. Using that you want to get the data frame. So data frame would be having same data of the CSV. Now we would be using this data frame. What is there inside this data frame, that we can check here only. So df and execute this cell, and this is the data which we have got from this particular CSV. Now here let's see the basic GroupBy. So for that, what we are going to do, we are going to use this data frame which is df dot, and then we are going to use GroupBy. So how to use that? We need to provide this group by, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And now here we need to pass the argument. So we would be doing this GroupBy for the specific column. So here let's do the GroupBy based on course. So here for data science we would be getting one group. For machine learning we would be having one group, right? So here let's say for the data science there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 students are there. So there is one group for the data science. Similarly for the Python and machine learning also we would be having one group. So here with the GroupBy, what we need to provide? We need to provide the column name. So the column heading name is course. So let's provide it here. So here what we are saying, we want to do the group by based on the course. You can do group by based on gender, city, so that's up to you. Here we are going to group by based on the course. Now we have got our group. Now what we want? So for a student of this group, there would be different marks. So here we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets, and here within the course, let's provide marks. Now for each student of different groups, we have got these marks. Now onto this we can apply any function like mean, sum, count. We would be looking about these functions in more details. For now what we need to do, we need to put a dot and then the function name. So here let's calculate mean, which is kind of average of the numbers. So here I am providing mean and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. Now here we can save this value inside one variable. Now this mean method would be returning us a series which would be a single column where we would be getting mean for each course section. So for data science marks, we would be having a mean value. For Python marks, we would be having one more mean value. So here let's save it inside one variable like mean underscore values, then equals to. You can give any variable name. Directly also we can execute it without assigning it into one variable. We would be able to see the output as it is returning a series. Now let's see output for this mean value. So here let's provide it and now let's execute this particular cell. And see, we have got the output where we are able to see the scores where there are 3 cores: data science, machine learning and Python. And for each course we have got mean value. And how it got calculated? So for that what you can do, let's say for data science, you can add all the marks 92, 45, 83, 95, 50 and can divide it with the number of entries. So you would be getting the mean value. For now you need not to be worried about this mean calculation, how to calculate it. When we would be learning maths, so we would be seeing more details about it. Similarly, let's say we want to calculate max value for this course group. So again what we can do, we can provide the same thing. Let's see that quickly. So we want to get max underscore values, then equals to, and here we can provide df dot group by, and here we want to group by based on the course. So within the course we can provide course here. Now we want to get marks for all the groups. So here we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets, and then within the quotes we need to provide marks, which is heading of this particular marks column. And then what we want to calculate? We want to calculate max value for each group. So for that what we would be doing? We would be providing dot and then this max function and opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here let's see the output for this max values. So provide it here and click on to this execute cell. And see, we have got max value for each group. For data science, max marks value is 95. For machine learning, it is 79. And for Python, it is 91. That you can simply see here into this data. See, for the data science, the max value which you would be able to see is 95. Similarly, you can check it for machine learning and Python, and you would be getting these values only. So now here you can do group by based on any column, and then you can do your statistics calculation for any of the column using these functions. So here we did group by based on this particular course column, and then we calculated statics using these functions like mean, max, min, and like this there are multiple functions for the specific column or for the specific data. So like this you can try it, and in case of any doubt just let me know into the comment section below. Now let's see the next topic, which is multiple aggregations with this AGG. Let's see how to use that. So again we are going to do the group by, but rather than doing simple statics calculation one by one, we would be doing multiple calculations like this. So for that let me add one more code cell here, and now let me copy this particular topic and let's provide it as the comment here by using hash and then the comment. Now hit enter. Now here first what we are going to do, we are going to do the group by first. So how to do the group by, that we have already seen. See, here we need to provide the data frame. We are using the same data frame which we have got here, and then we need to use this dot group by, and here we want to group by again based on the course. So opening and closing of round parenthesis, and then within the course you need to provide column header name which is course. Now here for the marks we want to do these calculations. So here we need to provide opening and closing of round parenthesis, and then within the quotes we need to provide marks column header name which is marks only. And then rather than directly doing these calculations one by one like mean, max, min, we are going to do aggregation. So for that we need to provide dot and then AGG and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And now for this AGG function, we can pass one argument, which would be a list. So for that, we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets. And here we can pass multiple items, that what kind of calculations we want to do. So here I want to get mean value. So within the quotes, I will be providing this mean. And then I also want to get max values for the specific groups. So for that, we can provide comma, and then here we can provide max. Similarly, let's provide min here. So comma, within the quotes, min. Here we can also get the count, that for the specific group, how many values are there. So for that, again, inside this list, we can provide comma, and here within the quotes, we can provide count. And like this, you can do multiple calculation by using this AGG function, which is for aggregations. And here we can save it inside one variable and can use that particular variable for further use. Here let's save it inside one variable, which is results, and then equals to. And here this time this AGG function is going to return us a data frame. Let's see the output, then you would be having an idea why it is data frame. So here let's provide results here. And now let's click onto this execute cell. And see, we have got one table where we have different columns like mean, max, min, count. And here we have done the GroupBy based on the course. So we are seeing all these 3 cores, or if there are 4 or 5 cores are available, we would be seeing all those cores. And here then we are able to see these statics calculations. Like for the data science, mean value is 73.66. For the machine learning, it is 71. And for the Python, it is 77. Similarly, we have got the max value like 95, 79 and 91. See here, previously, we have got it by using this max function. But with the help of this aggregation, we are able to do multiple calculation using this single function only, where we need to pass the list and then we need to provide the item that what calculation we want to do. Similarly, we have got this min. Here we would be able to see minimum value for each group. So for the data science, it is 45. So that you would be able to see. See, here it is. Similarly, for the Python, it is 55. So that also you would be able to see here, this one. And after that, we have also provided the count. So for each group, how many records are there that we are able to see. So for the data science, 6 records are there, which means 6 students are there. For machine learning, it is 5. For Python, it is 7. So like this, you can use the aggregation function to do the multiple calculation in one go. And here we have did this calculation onto the marks for the course group. But here, let's say we want to do this calculation onto the attendance. So that also we can do. For that, we will have to provide this attendance function. So here I'm going to do the GroupBy onto the course only, but then I would be doing this calculation onto the attendance. So for that, you just need to provide the same thing. Let me copy it and I will tell you what is the change which you need to do. And here I will give the variable name as results2. And here we are doing the GroupBy based on the course, but here rather than doing the calculation onto the marks, we would be doing calculation onto the attendance. So here within these square brackets and quotes, we just need to provide the column header name. And now all the calculation would be happening onto the attendance. Let's print value of this results2. So hit enter, provide it here, and then click onto this execute cell. And this time, see, data got changed because this calculation is happening onto attendance. So here we have got mean, max. Max, you would be able to see that for the data science, max value of the attendance is 98, which is this one. And for the Python and machine learning, you can see the same values. So just I wanted to show you that you can do these calculation onto any of the column. So as an assignment, you can try doing this grouping onto this gender and city column one by one. Now let's go to the next section, which is merging and joining data frames. So real projects have data spread across multiple tables. Merging combines 2 data frames using common column, just like join in SQL or VLOOKUP in Excel. Now here under this merging and joining data frame section, we are going to see these topics, which are inner join, left join, right join, and outer join. So let's start with this inner join, which keeps only matches. This inner join keeps only the rows that matches on both sides. Let's see the practical example. Let me first copy this section heading. Let's go to VS Code, and here let's provide that heading as the markdown. So provide double hash, and then this particular heading. Press Alt Ctrl Enter. Now we are going to see the topic, which is inner join. Let me copy this particular topic heading. Let's go to VS Code, and here let's add one code cell, and here let's provide this comment hash and then inner join. Now here, how to do this inner join? Before seeing that, we need to get the data frame. Let's create the data frame. So for this particular section, Rather than using CSV value, we would be creating DataFrame so that you would be easily able to identify that what this inner join, left join, right join and outer join is doing. So rather than understanding it onto the bigger data, it would be easy for you to understand it with the help of small data. And then you can apply this particular concept onto any data once you understand this particular concept. So let's create one data frame. So here we would be creating data frame into a new code cell at the top. So how to create the data frame? For that we need to use this pd, which is alias of pandas, and then we need to use this data frame. So data and then frame. And here within opening and closing of round parenthesis, we need to provide our data. So that we would be providing as the dictionary. So for that we need to provide opening and closing of square brackets. And here we need to provide key and value pair. Key would be appearing as the column name and its data would be appearing for each row. How to create data frame, that we have already seen very initially. So that same concept we are going to apply here. So here let's provide key and value pair. So here I'm just trying to create students data. Here I will provide key name as id, and then we need to provide colon space, and then its value would be a list where we can provide multiple values. Let's provide IDs like 1, 2, 3. And like this you can add multiple data here. Now here let's also provide one more key value pair, which would be name. So let's provide comma here, and then new key value pair. Key would be name and then colon, and its value would be list. And here we can provide multiple names like Ram, Shyam, wish infinite. And like this there can be multiple names, multiple IDs, right? Now save this particular data frame inside one variable. So for that what we need to provide? We need to provide a variable name. So here I am providing students and then equals to, and after that we are assigning this particular value to this students. Now if you want to see the output, you can just simply provide this students here and you would be able to see the data frame. See, we have got one table where we are having two columns because we have provided these two keys, ID and name, and these values are there for each row. So first ID is 1, then 2, then 3. And here we have got names for each row like Ram, Shyam, wish infinite, and these are just the index 0, 1, 2. Now for doing the merging, we need two data frames. Then only we would be doing this merging operation. So let's create one more data frame. And this time I would be creating data frames for the scores. So here let's give the variable name as scores, or marks also you can give, and then equals to. And to create the data frame, again we would be using the same concept where we would be providing one dictionary. So here let's give this pd dot data frame, then opening and closing of round parenthesis. Here we need to provide object, so opening and closing of curly braces, and here let's provide one key value pair. So first key I am providing it as the ID. So within the quotes let's provide this ID, and here if you will observe, this ID key is common for students also and for the scores also. And after this ID we need to provide colon, and its value would be a list where we can pass multiple IDs. And here I am passing 1, 2, 4. So these are the IDs which are available for the scores. And now let's provide scores also. That would be our second key. So comma and then scores, and then we need to provide colon, and its value would be a list. And here let's provide some scores for the students which are having ID 1, 2 and 4. So here let's give 85, 92, 78. And here also we want to see the output. So let's give this scores here at the bottom so that we would be able to see this scores table. Let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got new data frame where we are having this ID and scores as the column, and ID is 1, 2 and 4 for each row, and marks are 85, 92 and 78. Now here our data is ready. Let's quickly see both the tables so that it would be easy for us to understand this merging concept. So to see both the output here, you can use print function, or there is one more function that I will tell you. First let's try to use print function. So here I will provide this print and then opening and closing of these data frames. So here we have got scores. Same thing we can do for the students also. So print and then this students data frame. Here we are providing print and scores like this so that we can see both the data frames. Because with the Jupyter we would only be able to see the output for the last statement. And now let's click onto this execute cell and see we are able to get this table like this, but it is not properly formatted. When we were seeing the data frame, So directly when we were providing, it was showing with the proper coloring. So to do that, what you need to do, rather than using this print function, we can use this function which is display. So for the students, I have used the display. Let me click onto this execute and see it is showing proper table with this coloring so that it would be easy for us to read. Similarly, for this scores also, we can provide this display. So rather than using the print function, we are using display function if we want to see the output for multiple data frames. If we just want to see the output for one data frame, in that case, we can directly provide that variable name. That would also work, but we just wanted to see the output for both the frames. That's why we have provided it by using this display function. Now let's click onto this execute cell again and see we are able to see this properly formatted table. There is no relation with the merging, but just for your viewing purpose or viewing experience, you can use this display also. Now as our data is ready, let's proceed further with the merging, where we are going to see this first topic, which is inner join. And how to do that? So for that, we need to use this pandas alias, which is pd, then dot, and then we need to provide one function which is merge. And for this particular function, we need to pass the argument. So here let's provide opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here we want to do the merging of these two data frames. First data frame is students and second data frame is scores. So now let's provide these two arguments with this merge function. So first argument, which I am providing it as the students, then comma, and then I am providing this second argument as the scores. This order is up to you, right? Which data frame you want to keep at the first and then which one as the second. Now we have passed two arguments for this merge function. Now we need to provide the third argument, that on which basis you want to do this merging. So here we have this common column which is ID. So on the basis of this ID column, we want to do the merging. So here what we need to do, we need to provide a comma and then we need to pass one argument for the parameter on. So on which basis or on which column we want to do this merging. So on the basis of ID. See, this ID is common into this students table as well as into this course table. So after this on, which is our parameter name, we need to provide equals to, and then we need to provide column name, which is ID. So within the quotes, we need to provide ID here. Now we have provided our first data frame name, second data frame name, and then also we provided on which basis we want to do the merging. Now we need to provide one more argument where we will provide that how we want to do the merging. We want to do the inner join, we want to do the right join, left join, outer join, so that we need to provide. So for that, again, we will provide this comma, space, and here how we want to do the merging. So for that, we need to provide one parameter. Its name is how, and then equals to, and then its value would be inner, left, right, outer, so that we can provide. For now, we are seeing this concept which is inner join. So its value we will provide as inner. So INNER, all small. Here, if you will remove this value and press Control space, you would be able to see that what kind of values you can pass here for this how parameter. So here you can do this merging using cross, inner, left, left anti, outer, right, and right anti. You can try all these values. For now, I would be giving you some examples. So here let's provide inner for this how. Now by this, we would be able to merge our students table and scores table based on the ID. As here, we have kept one column common, which is ID for both the data frames. And then how we are doing this particular merging? We are doing this merging using inner join. Now let's save the output of this merge inside one variable. So here we are going to get the output as data frame. Here let's save it inside one variable, which would be results. You can give any variable name and then equals to. Now let's see the output of this results. So let's provide results here, and now let's click onto this execute cell. And now see, we have got our merged table, which is combination of students data frame and scores data frame. And here if you will notice, we have got only 2 rows. Why so? Because for the students we were having 3 rows, and for scores we were having 3 rows, so we should be able to see multiple rows here. But here we have passed this how as inner, which means it is going to consider common values. And here we have done this merging based on the ID. So there are these two IDs which are common in both the data frames. One which is common in student, and this ID 1 is common into this scores data frame. Similarly, this 2 is also common, but 3 is available only into the students, and ID 4 is available only into the scores. So that we are not able to see here. So whenever we are doing this merging based on the inner join, so in that case we are going to get the common data. As ID 1 and 2 were common here, so we are able to see only those two values here into this results data frame. So as per your requirement, you can use this inner join. Now let's see the next topic, which is left join. which keeps all the left rows. Left rows means the first table or first data frame which we would be providing, that it would be keeping. Let's see the practical example. Let's go to VS Code. Here let me add one more code cell. Let's copy it for the comment. I'm adding all these comments and headings so that it would be easy for you to get it right once you use the same code. Let's provide this comment here, hit enter, and we are going to use the same data, right, that we have already created. We have got a students data frame and the scores data frame, which is giving us these two tables, right? Tables, when I'm saying, it is your data frame. Now let's perform merging, but by using left join. So again, we need to use this same concept only. We need to provide pd dot and then merge function, and after that we need to provide first data frame and second data frame as the argument. So here first data frame, I'm going to keep it as students only. You can change this order, right? But you need to remember that which join you are applying, and accordingly you would be getting data. If you will change these orders, so output would be getting changed in case of merge. In case of inner join, it will not affect, but in case of left join or right join, it is going to impact. So now let's provide first data frame, which is students, comma, then second data frame, which is course. And after that, we need to provide the third argument, which is this on, that on which basis we want to do this merge. So let's provide comma and then on equals to, and here we want to do this merging on the basis of this common column, which is ID. So here within the quotes, let's provide this ID. Exact same column header you need to provide. And then we need to provide the fourth argument, that how we want to do this merging. So we want to do this merging using left join. So let's provide comma here, and here we need to provide this how, which is our parameter name, equals to, and then within the quotes, what we need to provide. Here you would be able to see we need to provide left for the left join. For the inner join, we have provided inner. Here let's save it inside one variable, which is results only. You can provide any name here, or you can provide results2, that's totally up to you, equals to, and now let's see the output for this particular value. Once we see the output, I would be explaining you why it happened. Let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got the data, and this time we are able to see 3 rows. Why 3 rows? Because we are doing the merging onto the ID using left join. So here in the document we saw this left join keeps all the left rows. Keeping all the left rows means it would be keeping all the left rows for these students data frame. So here we were having 1, 2 and 3 IDs. So it has kept all the rows from this students data frame. And why students data frame? Because we have provided it here as the first argument at the left hand side. And then we provided this scores at the right hand side. So you can remember it like this. We are providing students as the first one and the scores as the second one. So left and right. Just for your understanding purpose, I am saying that this one is left, this one is right, right? We have provided it as the first and second argument. But for your understanding, you can consider this is at the left hand side and this is at the right hand side. And here we have got this 1, 2 and 3. And then we have got this name, which is Ram Shyam Wish Infinite. And then as we are doing merging, so for all these 1, 2, 3 rows, we would be getting scores also. So we have got 85 score for the ID 1, 92 score for the ID 2. For the ID 3, we are not having any score. So in that case, we would be getting an AN here. And like this, if you would be having any large data, so it would be keeping all the rows, right, on which you are doing this merging. Now let's see the next topic, which is right join, which keeps all the right row. Here it is a typo error. Let me write this right. So it keeps all the right rows. Let's see the practical example. So it would be very similar to the left join, but on place of keeping data from the left data frame, it is going to keep data from the right data frame. Let's see the practical example. Here, let me add one more code cell. Let's add this particular comment. Here, let's provide hash and then this comment. And here, again, we need to do the merging. So pd.merge. And then we need to provide first argument, which would be our first data frame, which is students, which we are providing at the left hand side, comma. Then the second data frame, which is scores, which we are providing at the right hand side. Then after comma, we want to provide that on which basis we want to do this merging. So on basis of ID, because that is a common column in both the data frames. So on equals to, and then within the quotes ID. After that, we need to pass this fourth argument, which is how equals to, and here we want to do this merging using right join. So here for this how, we would be providing right. So all small, we need to provide right. That's it. Now let's save it inside one variable. So results 3 equals to. Now let's see the output for this results 3. Let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got 3 rows, but here we are able to see the IDs from the write data frame. So see, all these IDs which are 1, 2 and 4 were available into this scores data frame. See, here is our scores data frame where it has ID 1, 2 and 4. So that's what we are able to see here. And then it would be taking data from both the data frames. So from this, it would be taking scores. From here, it would be taking name. So for ID 1, the name is Ram. For ID 2, name is Shyam. And then for the ID 4, name is not available. In that case, we would be getting NN. And in case of scores, for ID 1, 2 and 4, score is already available. So we would be able to see these 3 scores. See, here is the output. We have got ID 1, 2, 4. For ID 1 and 2, name was available. For 4, name was not available into students data frame. So that's why we have got NN here. And we have got scores from this right hand side data frame. So that we are able to get for ID 1, 2 and 3. This is just the index. So as per your requirement, you can use inner join, left join, right join. Now let's go to the next topic, which is outer join. It keeps every row from both tables. Let me copy it. Let's go to VS Code. Here, let me add one more code cell. Provide this comment, so hash space and then this comment, which is for the outer join. Now again, we need to use this merge. So pd.merge and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. Now here let's provide our left data frame, which is our first argument. So let's provide students here. Then we need to provide the right data frame, which is our second argument. So let's provide scores here. Here I am providing it into the same order so that it would be easy for you to compare, right? What is inner join, what is left join, what is right join, and what is outer join. And then on which basis we want to do this merge. So for that, we'll provide this comma. On is the parameter name equals to, and its value would be ID, which is our common column name. And then fourth argument would be how we want to do the merge. For that, we need to provide the parameter name as how equals to, and its value would be outer. So within the quotes, what you need to provide here, if you press Control space, you would be able to see that what kind of values you can provide. And here we want to provide outer. That's it. Now let's save it inside one variable. So here let's give the variable name as results4 equals to. Now let's see the output for this results4. And let's click on to this execute cell. And this time we have got 4 rows. And here we have the ID 1, 2, 3, 4. So these IDs are available inside the students and sports data frame. So 1, 2 is available in both the data frames. 3 is available into students data frame. And 4 is available into scores data frame. So we have got rows for all 4 IDs 1, 2, 3, 4. And names we would be getting from this students table. So we have got name for ID 1, 2 and 3. So that we would be able to see. See, for the ID 1, 2 and 3 we have got names. But for ID 4 it was not available. So we have got NN. And same would be case for scores. We were having scores for 1, 2 and 4 ID. So that we have got. But for the 3 ID we have not got any score. So for that part, we would be getting NaN. See, for third ID, we have got NaN, but for ID 1, 2 and 4, we have got scores. So this outer join keeps every row from both tables. That's it. Here this ID is common. Here we are doing this merging based on the ID. That you need to remember. And how you want to do this merging. You can provide inner, left, right or outer join. And apart from that also, there are other values like left anti, right anti, cross. So that you can try, right? Try to give that particular value and try to understand what it is doing. For now, this much information is sufficient. You can just Google it, try to understand it. And still, if you are having any doubt, just let me know into the comment section below. You can also help other students by providing your notes into the comment section related to this cross, left anti or right anti join. Now let's go to the next section, which is summary statics. This one. So Pandas can give you a full statistical summary of your dataset in one line. This is always the first thing a data analysis does when they get new data. Here we are going to talk about this describe, which is going to give us full summary. And then we are going to talk about individual statics functions. Let's see this first topic, which is describe. First, let me copy this summary heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here, let me add one markdown. So double hash, and then this particular heading, which is summary statics. Press Alt, Control, Enter. Now let's add one code cell. And here let's provide this comment as we are going to discuss this describe topic. So let's copy it. Let's go to VS Code and provide it as the comment. So provide hash and then this comment. Now how to use this describe? It is very simple. What you need to do? you need to provide data frame, and then you need to use this describe there. So first let's get a data frame. You can create your own data frame like this previously we created. Here we have used dictionary, but just to keep it simple and fast, we are going to get data frame by using this particular student CSV. Let me add the code here at the top. So here we will give variable name as df equals to then pd.read_csv, and here within the opening and closing of round parenthesis we need to provide path and the file name of the csv.csv. So within the quotes we need to provide /data, which is our data folder, and inside it we are having students.csv, this one, which is this file. Here we are having multiple rows with the different data. Now we have got our data frame. If you want to see the output, you can just give the df here and you would be able to see output here only. Now we want to use the describe method. So for that, what we need to do, we need to use this data frame, which is df dot, and then we need to provide this method name, which is describe. So I'm providing describe here and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. Now here if you want to save it inside one variable, that you can do. Here we would also be able to see the output directly because this describe is going to return us data frame. Inside this data frame, what we would be getting, that we will get to know once we will click onto this execute cell. So let's click here onto this execute cell and see we have got this data frame where we are having data into the table format where it is having multiple rows and multiple columns. So here inside this data frame, what is happening, what we have got here, we are able to see these column names like student ID, age, marks and attendance only. Why not other columns? Because it has taken all the columns which are having number values. So student ID, age, marks and attendance are only the columns which are having number values. So that's why here we are able to see 4 columns only. If there would be any other column which would be having numbers, so we would be able to see it here inside this describe output. Now we have got multiple rows. So what are these rows? So we have got these rows for each statistical calculation. For the count, for the mean, for the standard deviation, for min, for 25%, 50%, for 75% max, we have got a separate row. What is this count? It returns number of rows or number of entries. So it is 20 for student ID, age, but for marks it is 18. Why? We are having 20 records, but we have got 18 because at 2 places this marks value is NaN. That's why we have got 18 as the count. And for the attendance, again it is 20 because for each row we have got data. Now here we can see the mean value, which would be average of these student IDs, age, marks and attendance. For the student ID, this particular calculation does not matter, right? Because these are IDs. But for the age, marks and attendance, this calculation can be useful. Similarly, we have got a standard deviation value, minimum value, that which would be the minimum value. See, 101 was the minimum ID that we have got. Minimum age was 21, so that we have got. Similarly, we have got minimum marks and minimum attendance value. And then we have this 25%, which gives the value that 25% of value fall below this particular point. Similarly, we have got this 50%, which means 50% of values fall below this particular number. So let's say if age is 24, so 50% of records are having age less than 24. So that's what it means. Similarly, we have got 75%, which means 75% of values fall below this particular values. So let's take the example of marks, which means 87% of students have marks below 87. Here for 25% you can take example of attendance, that 25% of students have attendance less than 73. For now, if you are not able to understand this mathematical calculation, how to do that, you need not to be worried about that. You just need to remember that with the help of pandas, we can do all these calculations. We just need to provide one simple function, and using that we would be able to do all these calculations. After that, we have got max value for this age, marks, attendance, and for student ID also. So for each numerical column, we would be able to see all these calculations. And now we have one more topic under this section, which is individual statics. So here we would be calling statics directly on any column whenever you need one specific value. Let's see how to do that. Let me copy this particular heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one more code cell and let's provide it as the comment, which is individual statics. Let's see how to do that. So here we want to calculate these statics one by one. It depends on us that what calculation we want to do and on which column we want to do this particular calculation. So let's say I want to do this count calculation onto marks column. So how to do that? So here what we will have to provide, we will have to provide data frame that we have already got For this section where we are getting data frame from the CSV, I would be using this same df, and then on which column we want to do this particular calculation, onto the marks column. So within the square brackets we need to provide marks. So between the quotes, let's provide marks here. And onto this column we want to do this count calculation. So we can provide this dot and then this count method, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And see, if you are getting confused between function or method, so you can simply mouse over and you would be able to get the detail that it is a method or the function. Usually any block which is related to the classes, we call it method, but if it is not there inside the class, so we call that reusable block as function. Like this you can understand it. Related to class, method; not related to class, then function. Both are reusable code block. Using the name and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, we can use them. And for that you need not to be worried about. You just need to know that how to use it and what is the use of it. It does not matter it is a method or function, right? Now here let me click onto this execute cell and see we have got the output which is 18. So for this marks we have count as 18 because at two places it is having no value. So here we are able to see an n. That's why count is 18 for the marks. See, here also we were able to get the same details, 18. And here it is also showing this np which is for numpy and its type which is int64. If you want, you can print it so that it would only be showing the value. So for that, use this print function and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and inside this we can provide this particular value. And here I will provide this string also so that the data will be looking properly. Here let's provide count and then double quotes and comma. So here for the print we are passing just two arguments just to see the output properly. So it would be showing count and its value. This here you can provide anything, count value or count hyphen anything, right? Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got count 18. If you want, you can keep a hyphen here just to see the output properly. Hyphen space hyphen after the count. Let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got this proper output. Just for proper visibility, I'm using this print and then this string so that you would be able to see the proper output. Although you would be using these values inside one variable and then you would be using that variable at multiple places. And if it is required at single place, you can directly use it. This particular section, right? How to save it inside one variable, that is very basic concept. We are doing that into multiple lines that you already know. I'm not doing that again. Now let's see other calculations. So now let's calculate this mean value onto this marks column only. For that again I will be providing this print and then let's provide mean here. So mean space hyphen space, and here we would be providing our value. So comma and then DataFrame df opening and closing of square brackets. Here we need to provide the column name within the quotes. Let's provide marks again. And now what we want to calculate? We want to calculate mean. So we can provide this dot and then mean, opening and closing of round parenthesis, and this mean method would be returning us the average value or the mean value. How to calculate it? It would be adding all the values and then it would be dividing it by the count. Let me click onto this execute cell and see we have got the mean value. If you are not getting that how to calculate it mathematically, you need not to be worried about that. When we would be learning math, we would be seeing all these concepts in detail. For now, as I told you, need to be aware that by just using these simple methods, we can do all the calculation. Now let's calculate standard deviation similarly. Again, let's use this print, opening and closing of round parenthesis, std space hyphen space, and then comma. Here we would be providing data frame, and then opening and closing of square brackets. Here let's provide this marks. Then we need to provide dot, and here to calculate standard deviation we need to provide std, which is our method name, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here let's click onto this execute cell and we have got the standard deviation. As I told, how to calculate it, you can Google it for now. If you are not getting it also, that is also totally okay. We would be seeing all these mathematical concepts later. And here if you will notice, see with the describe also we have got this same value 14.953 for this marks. Here we are doing all the calculation onto the marks. If you want to do calculation onto the age or attendance, that also you can do. This time let's get this minimum value for the age. So for that again I would be providing this print, opening and closing of round parenthesis. Here let's provide min val space hyphen space, and here let's provide the second argument. So comma df opening and closing of square brackets, and within the quotes we need to provide the column name. So this time we are doing this min calculation onto the age. So we need to provide this column name, which is age, within these quotes. And after this square brackets, we need to provide dot and then the method name, which is min, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And here let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got minimum value for the age column. With the describe also we have got same value for the minimum, which is 21. Here manually also you can validate it. We would be getting the correct value only, right? There are chances of human error when you are doing all these calculations manually, but here when we are using these methods, there is no chances of error, right? Now after this min, let's see the max value that we can do for any of the numerical column. It can be age, marks, attendance, or student ID. Let's do it onto the age only. So again, let's give this print and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. Then let's provide one string as max val or value space hyphen space, and then we need to provide comma here, and then we will be providing this data frame, which is df, opening and closing of square brackets. Here we need to provide column name, which is age, right? This age is numerical column, and here after this square brackets we need to provide dot and then the method name, which is max, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. As I told you, you can use this particular syntax to get the value inside one variable and can use that anywhere. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got the maximum value. So for the age, maximum value is 30. The same thing we have got here with the describe function. Here we have got everything as the data frame. Here we are getting each and every value one by one as the integer. Apart from that, we can also do the sum. That is also mathematical calculation. Let's do that quickly. So print opening and closing of round parenthesis. Here I will provide sum space hyphen space comma, and here onto data frame, for which column we want to do the sum. Let's do it for this attendance column, which is having number values. Let's copy it, and then within the quotes inside these square brackets, let's provide attendance. So for this attendance column, we want to get some value, which will be sum of all the values. So after this square brackets, we need to put dot and then sum, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got some value for all the attendance. Although for the attendance this sum may not be relevant, but onto any numeric column you can do that. For the marks, if you want to calculate that what is the sum of all the marks, so that you can do. And apart from these methods also, there are multiple methods which do different mathematical calculations. You can simply Google that what are different pandas method you can use to do different calculation. You can try it. In case of any doubt, just reach out to me. But for now, these many methods are sufficient. So we can either use this describe to do all these calculation, or we can do these calculation one by one. In case of describe, we get a data frame. So you can save it inside one variable like result equals to, and from here you can also fetch different values. Let's say you just want to fetch values for the age column. So in that case, you can provide this data frame name, which is result, or we can keep it as results. So results, and then opening and closing of square brackets, and here within the quotes we can provide the column name. So in this case, let's fetch age column details. Let's provide age here, and here if you will click onto this execute cell, you would be able to see calculation for the age column, count, mean, standard, min. So all the values are appearing for the age column. Similarly, like this, you can fetch any of the column details or any of the rows details. How to fetch it, that we have initially seen, right? How to fetch the values out of a data frame, that you can try. For now, we will be just printing value of results directly so that we have whole output. Now let's go to the next section where we are going to talk about some extra things like value underscore counts, str, and rename. So these three more tools you will be using constantly. Values underscore count to count categories, str for text operations, and rename to rename columns cleanly. Let's see these topics one by one. First, let's talk about value underscore counts. So it counts how often each unique value appears in a column. Great for categorical data. Let's copy this particular section heading. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one markdown. Provide double hash so that our heading will look properly. Space and then this particular heading. Stop editing here. Now let's add one more code cell. And here first we are going to talk about value underscore count. So let's provide it here as the command. Now here we are going to use this value underscore counts onto data frame. Where is our data frame? Now here we are going to use this value underscore counts onto data frames column. So first let's get the data frame. So for that again we would be using this students.csv. Let me add one more code cell initially, and here let's provide this df equals to pd.read_csv that we have used many times, so I am not explaining what we are doing. And then within the opening and closing of round parenthesis, let's provide path, so dot / and then this data folder, so data / students.csv. Now here let's use this data frame, so df, and here we want to perform this value underscore counts onto a specific column. So let's perform it onto this course column. First let's see the output, then I will explain you what it did. So let's get our course column. So within the square brackets and then the course, we need to provide this column heading which is course. And then what we need to do, we need to use this value underscore counts. So for that provide this dot and then value underscore counts and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. And now let's click onto this execute cell. See, we are able to get the output where it is showing Python 7, data science 7 and machine learning 6. What is that? So here for the course column it is showing that which value is present how many times. So for this course column, this Python is available 7 times, data science is available 7 times, machine learning is available 6 times, that you can see here. See, Python we have 7 times, data science 7 times and machine learning 6 times, that you would be able to see here by using this value underscore counts. And here this value counts method returns a series. That's why we have got only single column. These are just the course names, right? So rather than showing 0, 1, 2, it is showing different course name. But here we have got data in form of series, which is a single column. Now let's see the next topic, which is string operation with .str. Let's copy this particular topic. Let's go to VS Code. Here let me add one more code cell. Let's provide this command, so hash and then this command. So here we are going to use this .str. This .str lets you apply any string method to entire column at once. Let's see how to use that. So here we are going to use DataFrame and then we are going to use this .str onto a specific column. Here we are going to use any column of string type. So let's use our same DataFrame. Let's print value of this df so that we are able to see output here only. So let's perform this string operation onto this name column because it is having string values. So here we would be using this df and then opening and closing of square brackets. Then within the quotes we need to provide column name, which is this name. Then what we need to do, we need to use this .str. This .str is a property. See, on mouse over you would be able to see it is property. It is not method or function, so we need not to provide opening and closing of round parentheses. Now onto this particular property we can perform different operations. Let's say what I want to do, I want to change all these names into uppercase. So every character should be uppercase. In that case what we can do, we can provide this dot after this str and then we can use this upper function. See here after this dot we are able to see auto suggestions. So here you would be able to see all the methods which can be used here onto this str. I'm not going to explain each and every method one by one, but like this you can use any of the method after this str dot. If I am going to cover each and every method, that is going to be very long session, right? For now we will just see some of the example and later you can try each and every method. You can just Google it what it does. Here also if you will click on it and once you will mouse over, you would be able to see the detail that what this particular method is doing. So here we are trying to convert each and every character of this name column into uppercase. So upper we provided, then opening and closing of round parenthesis because it is a method. In case of function also we need to provide the same. Now this upper is going to return us a series which would be a single column. Now let's click onto this execute cell and see we have got the output. We have got all the names, but here only the first character of each word was capital, but now we have got all the capital characters. Ali Khan, Sara Mehta, John D'Souza, Mia Sharma, and like this we have got each and every value into all uppercase. We have done this particular operation onto the name column, and like this you can use this operation onto any of the column by using this .str and then the method name. Now let's see one more use of this str. Here I will be adding one more code cell so that we have proper output. So here again we would be performing this operation onto the name column only. That's totally up to you which column you want to use. Here we would be using this df, opening and closing of square brackets, and within the quotes we will use this name column. Then we need to provide this dot str after the square brackets dot, and here I would be using one method which is starts with. So here I am trying to see the output that which names starts with A. So for that the method is starts with this one, and then opening and closing of round parenthesis, and here we need to pass the character that for which we want to see the output. So here we want to see the output that we want to get values which are getting started with A. So let's provide A here, and now let's click onto this execute cell and see it is showing true for the names which are starting with the A. So at 0th index we were having this Ali Khan. Apart from that we have this Arjun Rao. Then we have this Anjali Iyer. So for such rows we have got true. And like this you can use this starts with for any other character to check this starts with value. And these are some of the examples, right? I told you. After this dot you can just put control space, and then you would be able to see each and every method which you can use for the strings. Now let's see the next topic, which is rename columns. Let me copy this particular topic. Let's go to VS Code. Here let's add one more code cell. Let's provide this comment hash and then rename columns. So this rename lets you change column names without rewriting the whole data frame. Let's see how to use that. So for that, again we need to use it onto the data frame, which is df here. In this case for this section, right, we have got our data frame, which is this one from the CSV file. So here we are using this df only. Then we need to provide dot and then this rename. So this rename is the method, and here we would be passing one argument just to rename the column. So within opening and closing of round parenthesis we would be passing argument which would be columns. So parameter name we need to provide, which is columns equals to, and then here we need to pass a object. So opening and closing of curly braces, and here what we need to pass, we need to pass the old column name, and then we need to pass the new column name which we want to keep. So now here this is our data frame. Let's change name of this marks column heading to scores. Let me copy this marks. So here within these curly braces we need to provide the key and value pair. So the key would be old column name. In this case it is marks. Then we need to provide colon, and then we need to provide its value which would be our new column name. Here we want to keep the new column name as scores. Similarly, as we are passing this object for this columns, so we can rename multiple column name. If you want to just rename one column name, you can just pass one key value pair. But if you want to rename multiple column values, so in that case we can just put comma after first key value pair, and then we can provide second key value pair. So this time let's say we want to rename this name column name. So let's provide name here. So key would be name. So within the quotes name, then colon. So we want to change this name column name to student. So after colon let's provide this value which is student. And that's it. We would be able to rename our column names. And now let's save this value inside one variable. So now we have renamed columns of our data frame, but now we need to save it inside one variable. So we would be getting a new data frame where these new column name would be appearing. Here let's give the variable name as df underscore new and then equals to. Now let's see the value of this df underscore new. So let's provide this df underscore new and let's click on to this execute cell. And see we have got the data frame, but here this time if you will notice we have one column name which is student. So on place of name we have got student, and similarly on place of marks we have got scores. So now we have renamed our column name, and like this you can rename each and every column also. Multiple columns if you want to modify, you pass multiple key and value pairs with the old name colon then the new name. That's it. You can also fetch all the column names in the list. How you can do so? In that case you need to provide this data frame. This time let's use this new data frame df underscore new. You can also use old data frame df, and then we need to provide dot and then columns, which is a property. See here if you will mouse over you would be able to see it is a property. Then we need to use this toList method. So dot toList and then opening and closing of round parenthesis. So this toList is a method. Here we need not to pass any argument for now. And now let's click on to this execute cell. And see we have got a list where we have got all the column names like student ID, student age, gender, city, and we would be able to see each and every column name inside this particular list. How you need to use it, that's up to you. You can save it inside one variable, and whenever you want to get list of columns, so at that time you can use it. Just for your information, I wanted to show it to you. And guys, if you're finding this course helpful, let me know into the comment section below. And feel free to share your suggestions. I would love to hear your thoughts. And now I will conclude this video here, but before we wrap up, let me give you a quick recap. So here we saw that what is Pandas? Pandas is Python libraries built on top of NumPy, designed to work with the structured data like tables and spreadsheets. We saw that how to install Pandas using pip install and Pandas. You can also use virtual environment, but just to keep it simple, we have directly installed it. And then we saw that how to import Pandas. For that, initially we did this import. So import Pandas, and here we are providing alias, which is as pd. If you want, you can also use directly this Pandas by just importing it and do not provide any alias. That's totally up to you, but usually you would be seeing this particular alias. Then after installation, we saw that how we can check the version. So by using this pd.__version__, we can get the version of the installed Pandas. Then after the introduction, installation and import, we saw the next section, which is series 1D data, where we saw that how we can create the series by passing the list of numbers, where we would be getting one column. We can also create the series with the custom index. So here first, when we pass the list, so in that case we were able to see these index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but here in this case we can also modify the index. In that case we will have to pass the list and the second argument with the index name. And then how to fetch the value, that we saw that we can provide the series and then the index name to see the output for the series. We can also create the series by using the dictionary, where we need to provide the key value pair. So these keys values will be the modified index, and these values would be our data, right? The series data. How to fetch it, that you can see. Then into the next section, we saw the data frame, where we saw that we can create a data frame by using the dictionary, where we can pass the key value pair, where key would be our column name and its value is going to be a list where you would be having values for each and every row, and then you can use it. So in this case, we need to use this pd, which is our pandas.dataframe, and then we need to pass this dictionary, which will be giving us this data frame, where we saw that we can get the shape of the data frame. We can also use the type to get the data type of the data frame. We can use the head to get 5 rows. We can pass the argument to see the specific rows. Similarly, in case of tail, we want to see the rows from the bottom. If we provide any argument, so those many rows would be appearing into the output. Then into the next section, we saw that how to read the CSV and Excel file. For that, we just need to use this simple concept, where we need to provide this pd, which is our pandas.read_csv, then path with the file name .csv. Similarly, we saw that we can also read the Excel file. In that case, again, we need to use this read_excel, where we need to pass the path with the file name .extension, and here we need to pass the second argument. We need to provide the parameter name equals to the sheet name, and then we would be able to fetch data from that particular Excel sheet as the data frame. Here you can perform all the operations onto the data frame. That's totally up to you. We saw one more concept, that we can save our data frame into any new CSV. So for that, we have created this data frame manually, and then we saved it into this output.csv. So for that, we need to use this data frame .to_csv in case if you want to save the output into the CSV file. And then you can provide path with the file name .csv to see the file at this particular path. Here you can put index as false and true if you want to see the index or not. Similarly, you can save the data into the JSON file, and like this, there are multiple read method like read from Excel, read from CSV, read from feather, read from JSON, and multiple to_ method like we want to save into CSV, feather, JSON file, XML file, so that you can try it at your end. In the same way, you need to use it. After that, we went into this section where we talked about selecting data. So to select the data, what you need to do, you need to provide the data frame and then the column name. So within the square brackets, we can provide the column name, and then we would be able to get that particular data. We can also get multiple columns. So in that case, we would have to pass this df. Then within the square brackets, we need to pass a list where we can pass different column names, and then we would be able to fetch that particular part. So we are just selecting the data for the specific columns. We are saving it inside one variable, and then we are showing the output. So the output itself would be a data frame only. Then we saw that how we can use LOC, where we can pass the index number, where we can pass the rows and column value to see the specific rows and columns. Like here we have passed 0, so we would be able to see a 0th row for all the columns. Here we have provided 1:5, so we would be able to see rows from 1 to 5 position. Here we have provided 3 as the rows name and the column name is name, so we would be able to see third row for the name column only. And like this you can provide rows and columns and try to see the output. Here we have provided multiple columns as the list, so we would be able to see multiple columns for the specific row. So before the column we are providing the row value, after the column we are providing the column values which we want to get. Similarly we can also use iloc, but here rather than providing the name we would be using index only for the rows and columns. So if you will provide a single value, in this case we are just saying that we want to get this row for all the columns. If we are providing this colon, so we are giving it a range that from which row to which row we want to fetch the value. And similarly we can also give row and column, so for which row and for which column we want to see the output. Here also we can provide the range. Let's say we want to get the output for 0th index row to the 3rd index row. This 4 will not be included. And similarly here we are saying that we want to get the column from the 1st index till the 5th index. This last index will not get included. Then we saw that we can also use the for loop to iterate through the data frame. In this case we can use iter row or iter tuples. Like this we can use this for loop, where with this iter row we can get index and row, and then we can see the index and the row output, and then we can use it accordingly. Similarly we saw that we can use this iter tuples, where we get the each and every row in form of tuple, and then we can fetch the value from that particular tuple by using this rows.index rows.column name. After that we saw this filtering data section. So here we saw that how to filter the data. So we can filter the data by providing the condition, where we can use the data frame and then we can provide the condition. So we saw that we can provide the conditions like this. Like here we provided marks should be greater than 90 and we should be able to see the specific output. So here we saw the output for the students which are having marks greater than 90. We can also filter with the multiple condition. In that case, within the square brackets, we can provide multiple conditions. So within round parentheses, we can provide first condition, then we can provide and then the second condition. So here we have got marks should be greater than 80. So here we have got the data where marks should be greater than 80 as well as a should be greater than 25. We also saw that we can use this isin. So here we have provided the list, and then what we did, we provided this df, and then within the square brackets we have provided that name is in these names. So we would be able to see the outputs for the row if name matches with this particular list. Similarly we saw that we can also use this query, where we can pass the plain text, where we can provide such condition like marks should be greater than equal to 90. This marks is the column name, so we would be able to see the output. We can also provide multiple condition here. We can also provide variable name by using this @ and then the variable name, where this variable value would be applicable for this particular query. Then we saw this adding and modifying columns, that how to add or modify the specific columns. So in that case, on left hand side of the assignment operator, we can just provide this df square brackets and then the column name. So if we provide any new column name, so it will get added into our data frame. Like here we have added this particular column where we wanted to see the true and false. If marks are greater than 80, is a scholarship eligible would be true, or it would be false. Then we saw that we can also modify an existing column. So in that case, at the left hand side we need to provide the df square brackets and then the existing column name equals to whatever the value we want to provide. So here we wanted to add marks for each and every student. So here we have provided this df marks plus 2. So for each row for this marks column, 2 will get added. Here you can provide any number. And like this you can modify values for the existing column. In this case, at the left hand side you will have to provide the column name which is already existing, like this. Then we saw that we can also use this apply to apply custom logic per row, where we created this particular function and then we pass this particular function for this apply. So df marks is going to give us each and every mark one by one dot apply, and then we applied this particular function. So here we are going to get each and every mark one by one, and here it is going to return A, B or C based on the specific score. So if the score is greater than 90, we are going to get A. If it is greater than 80, so we are going to get B. And if it is less than 80, we are going to get C. Like this, you can use apply with the function for applying custom logic per row. Then we saw that we can handle missing values or missing data. In that case, what you need to do? First, we saw that how to detect missing value. So on to DataFrame, we need to use this isnull, and then we can also provide sum. So we would be able to see for which column how many values are null. Then we can also take some action. Let's say we will fill missing values by using this fillna method. So you need to provide this df and then the column name, which is going to give us a series, and then we need to provide this dot fillna, and then here we can pass that whatever the value we want to fill for the missing values. Here we filled the marks with the mean value. Similarly, for the gender, for the missing value, we have just given the gender as female. That is just an example. It's totally up to you what value you want to fill. And then we also saw that we can also drop the rows which are having missing values. So in that case, you just need to use this dropna onto your data frame, and then that particular row will get dropped. Means it will get deleted from our new data frame. After that, we saw this sorting data section, where we saw that how to sort the data. In this case, we just need to provide this data frame dot sort values is the method name, and here we can pass the column name that for which column we want to do the sorting. So here by default it would be doing sorting into the ascending order. So you would be seeing a small value first and then larger value later. And here we can also pass the second argument where we can mark this ascending equals to false or true, and accordingly we would be able to see the output. We also saw that we can sort by multiple columns. In that case, we can provide the sort values with the list where we can pass the different column name. So in this case, first it would be doing sorting based on the course, and then it is going to do the sorting based on the marks. Here also we can pass this ascending parameter and its value. So here in this case, it is also a list where for the first column name, we want to make this ascending as true. For the second column name, we wanted to make this ascending equals to false. These are just an example. You can try it for your data, for your scenario. After that, we saw this group by and aggregation section, where we saw that how we can group by our data. So here we used this group by method. Then we provided the column name, that for which column we want to see the groups, and onto those groups we can do a specific calculation. Let's say here we grouped by the course, then we got all the marks for each groups, and then we performed these mathematical operations like mean, max, min, and any other operation you can perform. What are all these methods? At the end we saw that we can use mean, max, min, sum, standard deviation, and like this there are multiple methods which you can use here for the specific group, and you would be able to see the output like this. Like here we are seeing 3 groups for the course, and here as we are getting output for this max value. So for the data science, max marks are 95. For machine learning, max marks are 79, and like this you would be getting the output. Apart from that, we also saw that we can also do this grouping using this aggregation, where we would be seeing multiple calculations. So here also we need to use this group by onto the data frame, where we need to provide that on which column we want to do the grouping, and then we want to provide a column name that for which data we want to do the aggregation calculation. And here we can provide different mathematical operations like mean, max, min, standard deviation, count, sum, and like this there are multiple mathematical operations which you can perform. Then we saw next section, which is merging and joining data frames, where we created 2 data frames and then we perform merging for these 2 data frames, where this particular ID column was common. See, this ID column was common in both the data frames. Here we were having this 1, 2, 3 values. Here we were having 1, 2, and 4 values. Here we saw that we just need to use this pd, which is for pandas alias dot merge, and here we need to provide first data frame, which is our left data frame, comma second data frame, and on which basis we want to do the merging and how we want to do the merge operation. Here we did the merge operation using inner join, where we would be getting common data which is common into both the table. So this id 1 and 2 common into both the tables, so we have got data related to it, and it got merged because it is showing name and scores for that, which are our different column. Like this there can be multiple columns, so all the columns you would be able to see into the merged column. But you need to remember that on which basis you are performing this merge operation and how you are performing this merge operation. Similarly, we saw that we can also use this left join for the merging. In that case, we would be getting all the rows from the left column, right? For the ID, we have got all the IDs from left column, and then we have seen this merge data from the students table and from the scores table. As this third ID was not available into the scores column, so we have got NN. Similarly, we can do this based on the right join. In this case, you'll have to just provide how equals to right, and it would be taking rows from the right column, which was our scores data frame. Here we have got 1 to 4. These IDs were available into right hand side data frame. And here we have got names Ram, Sham, and for the fourth ID we were not having any name, so we have got an N there, and we have got all the scores from here only. For the fourth ID, see, there is no fourth ID, so there is no name. Similarly, we also saw that we can provide this how as outer. In that case, it would keep every row from both table. But so here we are able to see IDs for 1, 2, 3, 4, where we have got name and score. For the ID 3, score is missing. For the ID 4, name is missing. After that, we saw summary statics, where we saw that we can use the describe method to see one new data frame where we would be getting all the mathematical static calculation onto the numeric column like this. We can also do all these operation individually, where we need to provide the column name dot that onto which column we want to perform which mathematical operation. Here we saw that how we can perform count, mean, standard deviation, min, max, sum, and any other math operation you can perform. After that, we saw some extras like value underscore counts, str, and rename. So with this values underscore count, we would be able to count different values for the specific column. So for the scores column, there are 3 different values, and it is showing count related to it. It is returning series, so that you can check, right, by mouse hovering that what it is returning. It can be series, it can be data frame, or it can be data type also, that you can see by just mouse hovering. Similarly, we saw that we can use this .str. So we need to provide this df, then column name .str, and we are performing this string operation onto string column. This name is string column, and after that we have used this .str dot and then the method name, that what we want to do. Here we wanted to convert each and every name into uppercase, so we have used this upper. Similarly, we wanted to see that which name is starting with the A, so we have used this start with. And here for the name which were starting with the A, we were able to see 2, otherwise we were able to false. And like this, there are multiple methods which you can use after this str dot. So for that, you can just press control space after the str dot, and you would be able to see different methods that you can use as per your requirement. And then we saw that how we can rename the column. For that, we need to provide this DataFrame dot rename, and then we need to pass one argument. Its parameter name is columns, and then its value we need to pass, which would be a object where we need to pass the key and value pair. So key value would be the old name, and after the colon we are providing the value which would be our new column name. And like this, we can modify single column name or multiple column name, and then we can save this particular data frame into new variable, and then we can see the output. It will not affect the original data frame, it will create a new data frame. Here we also saw that we can also get list of the columns by using this DataFrame dot columns dot to list, which is going to give us a list of all the columns which are there. And like this, we have covered multiple of topics related to pandas, and these topics are more than sufficient. And even after this, if we use anything related to pandas which is not covered but which we are using into AI engineering course, so at that time I would be explaining it from very basic, so you would be able to understand it. Although we have already covered more than sufficient topics which will make you ready for the AI engineering course. And now that's it from my end. You can click onto this first card to go to the next video. You can click onto this second card to access this whole AI engineering course. And stay tuned for my upcoming videos. If you have any comments, questions or doubts, you can let me know into the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Have a great day.